Hello, my pretties. How is everybody doing? Happy Squatchoween! And welcome to Hairy Man Hoaxes and Hoodwinks. We have a great show for you tonight. My guests are coming in, and as they come in, we'll bring them on. So, let's pause the music and bring on our first guest. We've got Joby One Squatchoween. Welcome to the show. May the force be with you.
Yes. May the Squatch be with you.
All right. Next we have Mr. Bat Squatch.
I was just doing the Bat Squatch dance. Hello, citizens.
Woo! Oh my goodness. Okay, that's a little bit better.
Bat
That's a little
Squatch,
bit
not
better.
the hero we need, but the hero we want.
Yes.
Well, I can tell you,
And-
my people centuries ago in the forest, when there were problems between the certain tribes of men and others such as men, if there was a problem, my greatest grandfather was the original Bat Squatch, and the people would make a giant fire and put the symbol of a bat on a stone, and it would shine in the skies, and the Bat Squatch would come and solve the problems.
Oh my goodness.
It's weird though. My mom was a bat and my dad was a Sasquatch. I don't know how that happened, but
Well, it works. You're very stunning.
That's right.
So how
That's
are you
what this-
guys this evening?
Absolutely fine.
Great.
Great, man. We're having a great
wonderful.
time.
Glad to be here.
We do have 3 more guests that are on their way. They're running late, so we'll punish them later. But that's okay. But I cannot breathe right now, so I am going to take this off. Oh my god. Whew.
Reminds me of the scene in that movie, the Spaceballs.
Oh,
I can't breathe in this
I
thing.
can't breathe. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I couldn't breathe when I did the little skit part for the intro. That mask, there was no nose holes. They were squished together, but I didn't know that. I didn't know that I needed to open those things up. So I was killing myself for real. I was going to be a real killer clown. So, okay. Let me get things straight and let's see who we've got in the chat. I gotta fix this too.
Molly would have freaked out seeing you.
Discombobulated.
Molly would have freaked out seeing that costume.
We got B and Sandra Piper.
She's terrified of clowns.
Oh, my oldest was supposed to do the shooting for that, and she was too scared. I was scaring her. So my youngest ended up actually shooting it. I think we had to do like four different takes, maybe more. I don't know. But finally at the end, I'm like, I can't breathe. I'm taking that one. I'll work with that one. So yes, Michael Hayward, Danny's here, Central Florida Bigfoot. Scared already? I knew you were scared. I knew that's why you didn't want to come on. But see, I didn't start out with the clown head on. So, and B, of course. Thank you, my lady, for being here. Sandra, always here and always supportive as always. Thank you so much. So tonight's topic was a little bit something different. And it is our experiences, our most scary experiences that you can share, that would be shareable. And as I was thinking about what would I share with others? And of my personal experiences, I came up with actually three experiences that changed my life in some way or another, good, bad, all the way around. And I'm gonna share those with you. And then we'll just go around and everybody, I told everybody to kind of have a scary story to tell, and we'll go from there. So the cat just shut the door. Now she's going to want in about 5 minutes. So if you see me run over there, that's what it is. So my first experience was being a cancer survivor. So back in 2006, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer.
Mm.
And luckily, I was not feeling well, and I took myself to the doctor, and it was discovered early. So I had one really hellish year, I guess, 2006, where I had two surgeries and they completely removed my thyroid, and I had vocal cord damage. So at that time, I never really felt like I was going to die, but you have a fear, the number one fear of your children and what's going to happen with your children and who's going to take care of your children. Your husband is, how is he going to work and take care of the kids? And they're so young. And, well, actually, I just had one at that time. So that was like one of my greatest fears. And that changed my life was you never know how precious life is until you're put into a situation where you may not have that life. So a lot of soul searching happens to where what if this does turn out bad and it's metastasized and things don't go the way you want them to go. And I started writing. I started journaling and leaving notes and writing letters to my daughter, who was just what was she in 6 years old. She was 6 years old. So I was writing, I was thinking, gosh, I'm gonna write letters for her graduation, for her college, for her wedding, for her, to be prepared. So that was one of my big scary moments, was all that realization. Now I am here and I'm fine and nothing. They caught it early. Like I said, I did have vocal cord damage on the second surgery. So I lost my voice for 8 weeks completely. I mean, I didn't even have like a whisper. And before that, I was a singer. So that was another thing that really got to my heart, is that I wasn't able to sing anymore. And but I'm alive, and hopefully I was cancer free. I only had to go through radiation treatment and iodine 131. Some of you may know what that is, but they put you in the hospital and they give you these horse pills that are nothing but radiation, and not even the doctors can come in to see you. You're completely isolated. Everything in the room's wrapped in paper. And you're not allowed to take anything out of that room when you leave. I had to fight for my glasses and that I had. And at the time, I can remember saying, these are $300 glasses. They're coming home with me. They had to call a doctor in to approve it for me to take my glasses. A nurse wanted to throw them in the garbage. And, but it didn't happen. He said, no, the half-life and half-life and half-life of the radiation, your glasses should not be an issue. And I was able to bring those home. And of course, like I said, I couldn't talk for 8 weeks, and I kept having to go back and get that checked. And he goes, well, I see it, and you're going to start talking any day. They keep telling you that. But when you see your 6-year-old running in the street and you can't yell at them, that's like the worst feeling in the world. I had to bang on the car and I'm trying to chase after her and no nothing comes out. And then one day you wake up and uh I'm getting ready in the morning, my husband's next to me and blah 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 and then I just turned to him and I said, "Don't forget to do blah blah blah." And he looked at me and he goes, "You just talked to me." And I went, "What? Oh, I did. I just talked to you." It was that kind of situation where my voice just came back one day. Now, I never did gain my singing voice back because I can't change my pitch very well. And after like one song, it hurts. It hurts. But man, did I love to karaoke. Oh geez. I used to go and do the karaoke all over the place and
Yeah.
enter contests and sing with the choir at my church and all that stuff. But again, I'm alive, I'm cancer free, and life is good. So that was my number one story of something that changed, scary story that changed my life.
But that's victory too, Nikki. That's total
Yeah.
victory
It
also.
it does teach you a lot, that things can change in an instant. Things can absolutely change in an instant, and you have to live your best life, the best life you can, all the time, and don't let the little things get you so down. And remember that you've got if you've got family, don't ever put them to the side. Always include them in your life if you can, because it in the long run will make you a much better person. So that was my number one. So I'm gonna move quickly to number two, which was this early year I caught COVID
Ooh.
that ended me up in the hospital. And that was a very touch and go situation because I knew I had isolated myself all of 2021. And when it came down to Christmas, my dad had had two strokes. I needed to see my dad. Um, so he came and drove down here to my house so we could have Christmas together. And lo and behold, he brought COVID with him. So he gave everybody COVID in my whole house, my kids, my husband, my sister, her husband. We don't think my youngest daughter and my sister's youngest daughter caught it or son. And but we all got sick. All of us. My dad was very sick. And by the time he went home, we knew he was probably going to have to go to the hospital. And I knew it was probably COVID. So right away, I took me and my oldest to get tested, and it came back positive. So then my husband had to go test, and bam, he got positive, and we were all stuck at home, with the COVID, trying to beat it. And thank God that both my oldest and my husband were they didn't have very minimal symptoms, just like a cold. And my husband didn't have anything at all. He was asymptomatic completely.
Hmm.
So he was like, I want to go back to work. I don't want to be here. But me, within a week, I had an episode where I had a coughing fit and my right lung seized. It like
Hmm.
sucked in and it freaked me out completely. That was the first time something like that had happened. And I took myself as best I could into my daughter's room and I said, "Get ready. I'm packing a bag. We're going to the hospital. I'm checking in." So I went and started packing the best I could I knew I was going to stay there. I knew they weren't going to let anybody in to see me. So I went prepared. And that's exactly what happened. They didn't even let my husband come in the front. They let me in and they said, "Say goodbye." And that was that. And went in and it seemed kind of positive in the ER where I was okay. I just was having breathing issues, but they went ahead and took the x-rays and everything they needed to do. And yeah, it came back that I had COVID pneumonia on the top of my lungs, very early onset pneumonia. But they were possibly thinking of sending me home. with just an oxygen and, giving me antibiotics and sending me home. But one of the other tests came back and it showed my right lung spotted with PEs, with pulmonary embolisms and blood clots, the blood clots all over my right lung. And he goes, "Guess what? You're not going home. You got a ticket to the show." And that's when they took me upstairs. And fortunately, I had a great doctor who I never saw. You know what they did? They brought in an iPad and they held it up, and my doctor was talking to me through the iPad. He didn't even come in the room. And he says, "We're going to beat this. And you came in early and we caught the blood clots. So we're going to do this, this, and this. And I'm going to load you up with vitamins." And I was like, "Vitamins? Okay, do it. I can't breathe. Do it. Do something." Well, it worked. The antibiotics for my infection worked. The COVID treatment they gave me is a 5-day treatment, IV treatment. It's actually a treatment for malaria. I don't know if any of you know that,
Mhm.
but they gave me that. They were giving me blood thinners, which was probably the worst part of the whole deal because I don't know if you know, they give you those in your stomach. And
Mm.
for me, I had a really bad reaction to them. So it was like getting bit by a rattlesnake. That's how I pictured a rattlesnake bite would be, because it was just a sting and then a flare of pain.
Wow.
And I got big old bruises, like big bruises. Matter of fact, one time I was crying when I seen my nurse come in with the shot. And he goes, "Oh, sweetheart, you want me to give it to you in the back of your arm?" And I said, "Yes, please." So he gave it to me in the back of my arm. And that next day, man, my whole
Yeah.
back of my arm was just one big old bruise. And I'm like, "Geez, what there? This is like poison, going into my body trying to help me." But they had caught, because of the blood clots, they caught the pneumonia early. Okay. So between 3 treatments a day, breathing treatments a day, and the oxygen and antibiotics and all this other stuff, and not just IV vitamins, but pills, I was in a week. I was in a week, and they let me go home. So, and then I hear stories of people who aren't given certain things, that the doctors aren't trying enough early on in the COVID. Um, so it makes me kind of sad, that you knew there was this definite doctors that were going one way and other doctors going another way. But that was a huge goal, was to come home. And when you're sitting there not breathing and can't even get up and go to the bathroom without completely loss of air, is scary. And knowing that my dad was in the hospital at the same exact time I was, he was actually in for 34 days. We did not allow them to intubate him. He died twice, but he was not on a DNR. We did not do that as well. And now he's home. He's finally home. He'll always be on oxygen. His lungs are completely scarred, but he's home and he's alive. So, you have these moments of where, wow, again, I did it. I went through it again, where in an instant your life can change. Um, and I recently lost 2 cousins to COVID. So it it's a game changer, Those are the things that change your life. So that was my number 2, that can bring you back, bring you to a reality that you never know about, is illness. Is Those 2 were something that taught me a lot, taught me how to treat people, and it taught me how to be thankful for all those healthcare workers who do what they do every day, who aren't given enough credit or thanked enough. You know, my sister is a hospice nurse, and man, I don't know how she could do that every day.
Hmm.
And I give a lot of props to them. So that being said, um, I wanted to say those things just because I think people can know me a little bit better when they know that I've gone through some stuff like that. And I didn't want to really make it a sad thing, but when I was going through my thoughts, those were two very important things in my life that happened that were changing. And the last being that I have lived in two haunted houses, which probably more suits this topic. But um, I have always been the type of person who's been a little bit of an empath, and I have a way of having emotions and feelings about people and things, and a little bit of intuitiveness about certain things, uh, a type of healing of others, and I think I feel more about certain places that I'm in. And as a young 20, what was I, 21, 22-year old, I lived in this townhome that was right in front of a mortuary. I mean, from our back window, you could see the smoke coming out.
Oh, jeez.
And at the time, it was, we didn't know and what was going on or what the difference was, but we were in this particular home that shit would happen. Just crazy stuff. Like, one time we were sitting down in the living room watching TV and we heard all this commotion, like real fast, happen in the kitchen. So we got up and we walked in there. Every single drawer and cabinet door was wide open. And we just looked at each other like, you're you did this. We would always blame each other. You did this. You're trying to josh me. And we would go and we would shut them all and walk away. And then the next day, the water in the kitchen, it was always the kitchen too. The sink would just go on full blast. And we thought, well, it's just pressure. We're pretty logical back there. It's just old pipes. It was a very old townhome. And the water pressure would just come on so crazy. It would just, and we're like, what the heck? We got the super in there, the landlord to go in there and change out everything. And no, that thing happened all the time. And up in my room, I had this really weird door. And I would call it a closet, but it wasn't one that went all the way down to the floor. It was like up. It was up, and you opened this big door, and it was a deep hole. And whenever I had stuff in there, you know, but it felt like every time I'd open that door that it was like an empty pit. Like like you could just get lost, like you could never see the end of it. So I always had all the lights on, everything whenever I would open that door because I can remember always having this feeling of something crazy in that thing, and I would shut it. And so stuff like that always happened. We'd be cooking and the cabinet door swung and hit my roommate right in the head. I mean, to where he had a knot on his head, like big. That's how forceful this thing was. And that was it. Once he got injured like that, we didn't break the lease. The lease was coming up for renewal. And we ended up moving out within a month after that one, uh, because it was just too many weird things happening. But that would follow me around. It would end up that I did a lot of work at a community theater in town, and I would always see stuff kind of go behind me or in front of me because it was a very old reclaimed building. So I always got the feeling of things moving around in this used to be an old library that was converted into a community theater. So that would always bring me to tears. I would cry at the during I usually worked lights and sound, so I would be up in the booth by myself. And I would just start streaming tears at the weirdest times up there. And I can definitely remember one of the producers coming up and, real quietly during a show and saying, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Why are you crying?" And I go, "I don't know, but I'm okay." I would just tell her, "I'm okay. I don't know why, but I'm okay." And, it was always blamed at the ghost of the theater because all theaters have a ghost, don't you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Phantom of
And
the Opera. Yep.
all of them. So that would follow me around. Same thing when I went to visit uh, San Antonio. I went and okay, Pat just messaged me. Let me see. That's okay, Pat. Come in. I don't know if he can hear me through here or not yet. He's on his way. Um, don't know what's going on.
Who is this, Pat?
Turner. Turner's coming. Pat Turner. Squatch Talk.
Don't know him.
Oh, you don't know him. Oh. Well, now 5 years ago, we built our house on, built it from, well, we had it built and everything was great. This is my dream home, beautiful home, blah, blah, blah. And last year, it's been a little bit over a year, but when they broke ground behind us, something happened to my house. Oh my God. I don't even know. I don't even know if I can do this. I'm going to stop my story so that we can bring Pat in. Okay, here we go. Welcome, Squatch Talk.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Hot the mama.
Welcome, Trish. And where's Squatch Bait?
She's coming.
She's coming.
Wow.
You look stunning.
I suddenly
Stunning.
want to.
Absolutely stunning.
I suddenly want to date Pat.
I
Oh
don't.
my goodness. That's wonderful.
Oh,
Um,
Jesus.
Okay, I have to.
You know, the thing I love the best out of this right here is that I look at that and I go, there is no freaking way I could ever pull that off.
That had to taken some time. You couldn't do that in 5 minutes, dude.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
2 hours.
That's
Don't get-
great.
Oh my God.
It took an hour.
An hour. Yeah, it just took an hour because I stayed on Joe's podcast too long, and Squatchbait yelled at me, and she was rushed. So
It's like I'm looking at Bruce Jenner. I just can't get over this.
yeah,
Oh no, way better than Bruce Jenner. Way better.
yeah.
Way better.
You know, it's probably going to be a while before you stop hearing, damn, that Pat makes a damn fine looking woman.
No one will ever see me the same again, and that's fine. I've done this. I've done this Halloween costume twice before in my life, but it's been a minute, and yeah. So I don't know. I thought it'd be
Oh
funny.
my goodness.
I knew it would crack everybody up,
It is-
and I'm not afraid to do it. I don't care.
Oh, it's absolutely fabulous, man.
It
Thank you.
is. It's a good job. She did a good job. You did a good job.
It's
Kimmy.
great.
But I'm like, I'm not gonna do the too much of the persona thing. I'm not gonna come in here and try and sound like a girl or anything like that.
I feel like back when I was like 25 and it was the last girl at the end of the night at the end of the bar, and you're like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
screw it.
Hey, Jay, come here, Jay. Come.
Who's
Wow,
Jay?
you're cute. Come here.
Who's Jay? Who are you talking about?
Come here, Jay.
Oh gosh. Okay, so I'm gonna quickly end my third one was this house. Okay, and when the house behind us broke ground, something happened to my house that darkened my whole home. And I was keeping it to myself. I had felt the changes in my home, and I was seeing a little dark spot slither around the corner of my hallway, and it looked like a cat. And right before we moved here, my cat had passed away. So I thought, oh, Alvy came with us. I'm seeing Alvy's spirit going, because it was just like, how a cat goes around the corner and slinks around. That's what I was seeing, a little black splotch going around. And I kept seeing it, and I kept it to myself. And then one of my daughters came and said to me that she saw something in her room, a shadow figure, and she was getting scared of it. And I'm like, oh, well, you're staying up too late. She's a gamer, you're just seeing whatever. And I kind of dismissed it. But then my younger daughter came to me and said, Mom, somebody's whispering in my ear at night. And she goes, I can't tell what they're saying, but I've been woken up to somebody whispering in my ear. So that was kind of scary. And I was starting to wonder if, okay, so now we're all seeing something in my house. Not even a week later, my husband pulled me aside in the kitchen and said, hey, I got something to tell you, and I don't want you to think I'm crazy. And I'm like, what? He goes, I was on the computer, this computer right here, as a matter of fact. He goes, and I turned and I looked and I saw somebody in our bathroom. So I started talking, thinking it was you, and I walked in there and there was nobody there. And he saw a full apparition walking into our bathroom. And he goes, and I know I know what I saw. I saw a full apparition go into our bathroom. And it's bothered me ever since. And I had to tell you about it. And that's when I told him what had been going on, that I had been seeing this little spot of something. And my dog, Bella, had been barking at the corner of the house, up in the very corner. Out of nowhere, she would just start barking, which was not like her at all. And I told him about the girls, and he looked at me. He goes, what are we going to do? And I go, well, we never blessed the home, and I never went to each room and did a blessing or anything. So I'm going to cleanse the house. And I left it at that. Well, it wasn't that night, but it was very shortly after that. I hadn't gotten around to it. I was doing some research on how to properly cleanse a home. I didn't know if I wanted to go get the priest to come do it. I was looking at all my avenues. When at night I was asleep, my husband was working nights, so I was alone, and I had paralysis. One of those where you just can't move. You're completely
sleep
immobile.
paralysis.
Yeah.
That's
And
scary
that was the
stuff.
first time that had ever happened to me. I can remember seeing my TV on. I know exactly what was on. I was hearing everything that was on my TV, but I had the feeling that somebody was on top of me. Their hands were on my shoulder, my arms, pinning me down, and that whatever was there was right. Put your hands right up to your face. That's what it felt like. It was suffocating. It was something was right up into my face. And I couldn't scream. I couldn't yell for my kids, my dog, nothing. I couldn't move. And I'm like, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And I finally, it happened very fast. Okay. But within seconds, I finally started praying, and I started, evoking the Holy Spirit to come and release me and help me. And I started saying the Our Father and a Hail Mary. And as soon as I was saying those, just it like flew off of me, and I startled up, and I was up, and I'm like, looking around. And I turned on all the lights, and it was quite disturbing. Well, that next morning, I didn't even care. I got my Bible, my holy water, my white sage, and I went to each and every room and I said a blessing, and I had front door open and the back door open, and I pushed this thing out, whatever it was, and I believed it. I believed in everything I said, and it worked. It worked. My house was not dark anymore. My kids had another visit, but my daughter seems to think it was her grandma, because turns out we think my daughter is a little empathic as well. And but that's a whole nother thing. And yeah, the whole house was lighter. The corners, the dark corners of my house were lit now. It was a completely different feeling. And occasionally I will still go through and do what I call like a light cleanse of the house. I'm not a professional or somebody who does this all the time, but I believe, in spirits and ghosts, and I believe that my words could change things. So that's that was one of my scary things here in this house, and we haven't had it since. My husband hasn't told me about anything since. So hopefully we nipped it in bud, and now all the houses are in, except for the one right next door. So that may be an issue. But this whole area used to be called Jalapeno Flats, and was part of the, I can't think of the Indian reservation name right now, but it was, all burial ground too.
Mm.
So that's what we think happened. That something got released and it came straight in my house. So there.
You did the right thing, Nikki, because we all have the power over that. I try to tell people that what you did with your own power, with your own strength. You can do that. We don't need a preacher or somebody that because they studied a book or something. We all have that ability. And if you're an empath, you already have that ability. You can chase these things away. So
this whole empath thing kind of came to me late. I really wasn't a believer in all that. It wasn't because it's more because my sister is more of a mediumship. She's way more talented. I don't know what word to use, but she did things and has said things to me that there's no way she could have known or said and have happened. So she made me a believer, and it has changed both our lives. And it turns out when we're together, we're actually quite strong, which is also weird to me because I'm blocked. I've been told by several different psychics and mediums
Sorry.
that my third eye is still blocked.
I'm not laughing at you, Nikki. Pat is killing.
I know.
Killing me.
I'm actually moving the freaking hair out of my face a little bit.
I hope you don't catch that on fire, dude.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I've actually had hair this long at one point in my life, so I know what it feels like to actually have hair this long. And when it gets in your face like this, I mean, I used to do this all the time in real life back in the day, back in the 90s. Yeah. So.
I actually found an old picture of you with really long hair. I should have put it on here.
Oh yeah. I mean, I mean, I'll show you guys. Like I used to look like this without the makeup. Like no joke. I got mistaken for a girl everywhere I went. I was about 50 pounds smaller than I am now. And I only weigh 150 right now. So I was like a 100-pound kid, like with hair just like this down to here.
And probably the jeans you were wearing, probably, hey, look at that.
Yeah.
I came in as Disco Cat.
Okay, so it was a cat. All right, yeah. Nice.
One of them. I have many costume changes, so we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
So Joby one, Squatchnoby. Tell us your story.
Well, it's funny. And real quick, yeah, I used to too, Pat, back in the like '80s, and my hair was down,
The long hair.
yeah,
Oh,
way down the middle of my back and everything,
yeah.
and I wore it that way for quite a long time, actually. But scary stories. It's funny because in 58 years of life, almost 58 years of life, anyway, um, I could count the scary things on one hand that have happened to me. Like, well, at least with what I could call paranormal. I've had a lot of scary stuff take place, but when it comes to something paranormal, really haven't had that many. But you just made me realize I got at least three. Because you just reminded me, Nikki, of one that I had totally forgot about when you mentioned the sleep paralysis thing. Um, I was in I was living in my hometown, um, basically, and I was renting this small apartment where I lived in Nunde, New York, and this hotel was called the Mary Jemison Hotel. Mary Jemison, if anybody looks up the history, she's very famous. She was called the White Woman of the Genesee because she was abducted by the Seneca Indians at one point, and then she eventually became a member of the tribe, and she actually became one of the wealthiest women. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So this hotel was named after her. Old building, and had quite a history in it. I was renting a small apartment on the top floor, and it's only two stories. So I'm upstairs, and it's an apartment that I found out later that even one of my cousins, so that's kind of odd, had been living in at one time. I never knew that. But I'm in this small apartment. Bedroom's the biggest room, and I'm going to bed, and I'm laying there, and I know, I must have been asleep at one point. But then it was like I was halfway in between waking and asleep. And for some reason, this thought came into my head: somebody's in your room. Somebody's in your room. Somebody's standing right over you. And I kept like getting these feelings of somebody standing there, like with a big knife, getting ready to stab me. And I was like, okay, I'm just dreaming. All I need to do is be able to open my eyes and move, but I couldn't move and I couldn't open my eyes. And I was trying hard to wake up. All I have to do is wake up. All I have to do is wake up. And I couldn't. And then all of a sudden, this huge like chill went into me, as if whatever was standing there with this knife, all of a sudden plunged it into my chest, because my whole chest became like this huge chill, man. And that's when I was able to open my eyes and sit up, and I was like, and then right at that time, I hear my toilet, the weirdest thing, I hear my toilet flush, and the water in the sink turns on, the faucet turns on. And there's
Why does that
nobody in
always
there but
happen? Why
me,
does that
man.
always
I
happen?
don't know what the deal is with the fetishes with the bathroom stuff. I don't get it. But that all happened at once, and there was nobody in that apartment but me. And I was like, that's it. I'm done. My mom lived down the street, man. I'm like, I'm sleeping at mom's tonight, man, because this was just too freaky, man. I was like, what in the hell was that, man? It's just and the toilet. I don't get the toilet thing. Flushing the toilet and the water in the sink coming on, man. You know, but one of the scariest moments in my life. And then there were two others. One was me and a friend of mine, lifelong friend. He's the one that just recently passed away. That I went, but we were kids and we were going down, and it just so happens that this was on Halloween night that this happened to us, and I'm thinking we were right around 14 years old, maybe 15, and as kids, we lived out in rural America. So we're walking down this dirt road. It's pitch black outside. It's Halloween night. And there's this graveyard that is near his house, right? And so we're walking down the road. We're going past this graveyard. Well, David was a real jokester, right? He liked to cause jokes. So we were talking about, ooh, spooky this, spooky that, and everything, And so he throws a rock, right? I don't see him throw it, right, to make this noise. Scared the shit out of me. So I start, and I run, right? So he starts laughing, ha, 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 gotcha. And so I go back to him, like, you're an asshole, man. And we're standing there, and I was laughing too, though, because it was kind of funny. And we're standing there, and then all of a sudden, both of us at the same time, from right next to us, and it sounded like it was right behind a this one gravestone. We hear this, and we looked over, and we're looking, and I looked at him, and we're looking over, and all of a sudden, this dark, I don't know what to call it, this dark mass kind of looked like it came up, and it almost looked like a hand. It reached over and it started coming over the side of that tombstone. And we were like, that's it. Exit stage left. We're out of here. Zoom, man. And we were gone. And we were like, I was like, man, how'd you do that? Right? He's like, I didn't do that. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, dude, yeah, he didn't set that up. I'm like, what the hell was that, man? We hear a moan, and this shadowy spectral hand thing just kind of float over the gravestone, man. And so I still figured it out. I'm like, dude, something was crawling out of that grave, man. I swear to this day. Something was crawling out of
Dude,
that
that
grave.
was somebody fucking with you, bro. Sorry.
I don't know how it could be
That's all that was.
possible, man. Because
Yeah.
this thing was like, it was like smoke almost, but it was black, and creeping up over, man. It was crazy, man. And then the other one that I had was really, really weird. We were lived in this farmhouse, and we had this mud room, and it was a mud room / tool room, etc. Off the back of the house. And one night, I'm standing there doing dishes, and all of a sudden, I hear this in the back, a mud room. I hear thump, 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 like something walking, but dragging a foot. And I'm like, holy shit. The week before that, and I told this somewhere, I said something about this. I mentioned something about this. A week before, my school had shown Night of the Living Dead, the original, George A. Romero, black and white. Scared the living crap out of me. It still goes down, hands down, scariest movie I've ever seen. And automatically I'm thinking, I'm hearing this thump, thump. I'm thinking, oh my God, it's freaking zombie, right? And so I hear this, and I'm looking, right? I'm like, maybe it's my brother playing a trick on me, but no, my brother, he's sitting in the living room with my dad, and my mom is in there too, and that accounted for everybody. And so all of a sudden I hear this, and it stops right at the door. Stops right at the door, and then I hear tap, tap, tap on the door, right? And I'm like, holy shit. And my brother, he gets up and he goes to the, I don't know if he actually heard the noise or not, but he gets up, and for some reason he, I guess, was going in the mudroom, and he goes to reach for it. I said, don't open the door. Don't open the door. There's a zombie out there. There's a zombie out there. And he opens the door. Nothing there. Not a damn thing there, man. And he's like, thinking I'm crazy. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I heard him walk up. I heard him walk up. I heard him knock on the door. And I did, man. I heard that very clearly, man. Thump, drag, thump, drag, thump, drag. Step right up to the back door, and then do, do, do. Knocked on the door. Open it up. Nothing there. So, but that scared the living crap out of me, man. I would not go. I used to use the front door all the time. I would not go in that. I would not go through the mudroom anymore after that. If I had to go around in the backyard, I'd go out the front door, walk around the house. Yeah, that was it. So, That's my scary stories of
Mm.
the paranormal, creepy kind.
Do you feel like creeped out whenever you go to, like, to a graveyard or anything like that?
Um,
Or, you
no.
walk in the woods and all of a sudden you come upon
Now,
gravestones?
now that would creep me out more than going by, because I mean, uh, they don't, but I don't necessarily willingly and voluntarily go into graveyards at night though. Because like I always say, man, I keep saying it, man. I don't believe in ghosts, but I've been afraid of them all my life. So, yeah, I don't.
Well, here in El Paso, we've got the Concordia Cemetery, which is the one that was on Zach Bagan's Ghost Adventures.
Mhm.
And they do tours every week, where you can go and they'll tour you around to all the different tombs and graves and everything. And there's actually an infant section with just a bunch of babies. And yeah, there's reports all the time of baby crying from that area.
Hmm.
And of course, that's where the Night Stalker used to
Oh yeah.
sleep at night. They still have the trio of trees that he used to sleep under right there.
Mm.
And that was scary. My sister's here. Hi, sis.
All right. Yeah, it's funny because even though I always thought the house that I'm currently in, this is like, it's like 140 some odd years old. This house, old farmhouse, and I thought, man, if any house is gonna be haunted, man, it's got to be 140-year-old house, man. Not a peep.
There seems to be a lot of energy in those older style of.
Nothing here though, man. Not that I've ever experienced. Nothing in here, man. And I was really kind of disappointed, man, to tell you the truth. My wife is like, I'm glad it's not haunted. I'm like, yeah, I'm a little disappointed, man. I expected some chain rattles or creaks and groans in this thing, man, but nothing. Ah!
Yeah.
I can't hear you.
Yeah. You can't hear. T-Rex. You look like a juvenile T-Rex.
I'm surprised the tiny little hands can reach.
I lost my hands. They're down there. But they're too big to put on. I don't think damn. No, I'll break it if I put those over like that. I didn't quite think about all the technical issues I was going to have by wearing these things.
Hey, you should take that out in the woods and try and elicit a response from a Sasquatch.
Yeah.
No, but I'll let you borrow it.
It's always me. It's my idea, but yeah, I'm the one that has to go freaking do it. Okay, fine.
I have the big one, the one that blows up too. That one's
Obviously,
hilarious.
I'm willing to do a lot of things, right? I ain't scared.
Well, you know how it is, man. It's your plan. You initiate it. I was just like, I can't get it off.
Oh, that's funny, Nikki.
That's funny.
Whew. I can't breathe in those things. Yeah, I never quite thought it through that I wouldn't be able to hear. My goodness. Okay.
Whose turn is it now? Jay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Jay has he's the ultimate scary story.
I have quite a few actually. Yeah. When I was a little boy, probably about 3 years old, I think somewhere in there. I was living up on Skyline Boulevard. My mother had just divorced my dad, and I didn't know anything about that. All I know is we were living at my grandma's house up on this mountain in Skyline. And one night my covers fell out, and I was still in a crib or something, because I just remember the sides of the of the bed. So, but it was cold, and I was crying, and I had a stuffed bird and a couple other, not like a real bird that had been killed and stuffed. It was a toy,
Mhm.
and it was over on one of the dressers, and there was a few of the other toys that we had that were. But all of a sudden, the bird just looked at me and said, "What's the matter, Jason? Why are you crying?" And I said, "I'm cold." I had no fear in any way, shape, or form. And it flew down, picked up my blanket, put it on me. And the other toys were tucking me in and all that stuff. That happened twice when I was just real little like that. I won't, this would be like this is the first time I'm ever going to tell this like to a big audience. But that happened twice when I was little like that. And then we moved to Silwood, Oregon, and I was probably around 5 or so at that time. And these light stick figure type of people came every night and surrounded my bed and my brother. We couldn't move or anything, but we weren't afraid. And they moved like vibrationally, like when they moved, they were tall and just light. They looked like glowing light. I just remember that it was we were never afraid, but it's like I can remember some of them were writing things down. They never spoke. I don't remember ever being spoken to. All I know is we couldn't move. And then me and my older brother, would talk about it every day after it happened when we were little kids. And then, when I was about 13, we moved to Vancouver, Washington. Now, we did live up on an old homestead in Yamhill, Oregon, but nothing ever happened there. My mom said she would hear things at night and go upstairs to check on us kids. She could hear, she thought we were up walking around up there, at midnight or so. And she'd go up there and we're all sweating in bed. And so that's, I don't remember anything ever happening there. I loved it there. That was complete peace for me. But we moved to Vancouver after that, and we were living in a house where two ladies had bought and lived their whole lives before they died. And so we're living in this house, and not ever before or not ever since. I was like 13. I was laying there in the bed watching Happy Days, and I got lifted up off my bed like 4 feet and dropped that fast. It just literally, I was lifted and dropped. It's never happened before or since. But it scared the hell out of me. I slept with the light on for almost a year. And I went in and to my brother's room. He was already asleep, and I grabbed his foot, and I wouldn't let go of it. And I just slept on the floor with holding his foot the rest of the night. And when we woke up in the morning, he's like, "What are you doing in here?" And I said, "Something lifted me off the bed and dropped me." He goes, "Whatever."
Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that was extremely scary to me. But after that, I started learning more as a young adult about empaths and things like that. And I realized that when somebody had something going really bad, where they're extremely, if I touched them, I would take that away, but it would affect me. And, I didn't realize that till I got some guidance. But my wife and I moved into a place. These people bought the house in 1929. They built the house, and they both died there. And that whole time we lived there, that was about 17 or 18 years ago, we would be touched all the time, literally touched, comfortingly touched. So that was, it never scared us. It wasn't, because I've had, sleeping and have something black just come through. And I'm at a point in my life, started about 15 years ago where I just say whatever it is to get out. But it doesn't bother me. But yeah, there's been freaky things that have happened to me. The first time I was able to tell somebody, a friend of mine at work's uncle got murdered. I told him exactly where he was. That's only happened one time, but I got this.
Wow.
It came to me when I shook his hand. I knew where he was. I told him if they found his truck up here in Large Mountain, then if the broken window was on the driver's side and is facing that way, I told him go down a quarter of a mile. He's going to be right on the other side of this ditch, and he's going to have been chewed by animals. And that's because it came to me. I don't know why, but it did.
Huh.
And that's where they found him.
Wow.
he was murdered, and then the animals did chew on him. So yeah, that took a lot out of me because I don't know. I asked for it to stop, and it did. So it was taking everything I had to. I was helping people, but then people were taking advantage of me, and it was wearing me down. It was just sometimes it would actually make me sick because I realized that I could do this for animals too. And the first time I ever learned that was our dog lost every puppy, and I reached down to pet her, and I was overwhelmed. I literally felt all of her grief come into me, and that's when I learned that animals actually grieve too, not like we do. It is different,
Right.
but they do, and
I believe it.
so. And I felt that, and so I just started. I even grabbed my wife one day when we had a rabbit that lost all her babies, and I touched that rabbit, and I felt the vibration. I told her, come here right now. And I grabbed that rabbit, and I grabbed my wife, and she goes, Jesus. With rabbits, it's very vibrational, extremely vibrational, weird. Rodents are different, but there still was some grief there. So it's, these are the things that I've experienced. And besides being chased by a Sasquatch, I'm not going into that, dude. Everybody here knows about it, so I'm not going into it.
Pat,
I'm
still
listening.
Muted.
Trish is muted.
Yes.
Oh, and by the way, I did have very long, flowing, curly hair.
I'm just a girl.
Until now, I did have very long, curly, flowing, dark hair.
How does this work again? I'm just a girl. I'm just a girl. So yeah,
Alive.
Venom. What's up, Venom?
What?
I'm just a girl.
I can't. I don't have my glasses on. I can't.
Yeah, I know. I know. I
Hold
can't
it
read
this close.
anything in chat. Like I keep putting my glasses on just to read what.
Try having some on under a mask. Jesus, that was killing me.
People, whatever shit talking's going on in chat. I don't know if I can say that.
Is there shit talking?
Nah,
the rest of the panel, we're just missing JC, and we're missing Jeff Harding. I don't know what happened to Jeff. He hasn't gotten back to me. And JC's on her way, but she got busy. And Brent, yes, and Squatchbait.
I'm anxious to see Squatchbait what she's doing.
She's got two crazy stories, dude. They blow mine out of the water.
Cool.
But
well, we're
not yet.
Going, no matter if they show or don't show. But I mean, like Steve's traveling, Brent was traveling. They may pop in later on at the end. Leon's working. He works on the weekends, and Matt was too scared to come on. So
Leon was in the chat.
And I tried to get
Matt's in the chat.
Leon's in the chat too.
Leon's in the chat. Vaughn. Hey, Vaughn.
Oh, Sean. I tried to contact Sean, but he never contacted me back. So if you're there, Sean, you're welcome to come on too. So, it is what it is. But you want to bring on Squatchbait to tell a story?
No, I'll tell mine first. Which
okay. Yeah,
it's pretty
I have
short.
to do another quick change, but I'm listening somewhere.
Okay. So let's see. I mean, I've got two weird stories, two weird things that happened in my life, and one is the thing I saw flying through the air. But I talked about that on my show, so I might talk about it a little bit here, but very short version. The other one was like kind of what you guys were talking about, like everybody else here, evidently, which is I was it was around that same time that I saw the weird thing flying in the air, but like 15 or 18 years ago, like in that window somewhere, I think it was closer to 18 years ago, we had just remodeled this, at the time, 100-year-old house, right? And it had been converted into a duplex, which was kind of a thing from the Great Depression. So for houses that old, a lot of people during the Great Depression subdivided their homes. for extra income, so subdivide it and make it a rental. We converted it back to a single family home, and we were towards the end of it. We were finishing stuff up, and I was there in this house, and I was upstairs, and what we created was a walk-in closet, but it had like windows like all around it. But it was a walk-in closet basically. And my buddy was downstairs. He was downstairs below me in the kitchen working on stuff, and we were the only two people there. So I'm sitting here, and I was actually painting. I think, yeah, I was painting trim in that closet, and so picture like here's the closet opening, and it leads into the master bedroom, and then the rest of the house down under. And behind me is nothing but windows and the exterior of the home. And again, me and my buddy were the only two people there. He's downstairs. He's working right below me on countertops, and I'm sitting there painting this trim. And all of a sudden, right here, but right behind my ear, from behind me, which there's no person, is just like, it's like somebody walked up to me and said, "Hey." And I'm like, what the hell? Like, and I go like this around the corner. Like, so I thought maybe somebody walked in the room. My buddy walked in the room, said, "Hey," maybe somebody else showed up. Nope, nobody. Checked the whole upstairs, which is real small. Nobody's upstairs. I walk downstairs, and I'm thinking in my head I'm like, well, maybe Brian from downstairs like yelled, "Hey," I walk downstairs. He's just doing his thing. Like, he's not hardly even paying me any attention. I'm like, did you just call me out, dude? Like, did you say hey, or like I need you or something? He's like, "No, man. What are what are you talking about?" And I'm still thinking like he's messing with me somehow. And I grilled him about it, and he was like, "Dude, I didn't say I didn't yell." He had like a little radio going. Like, he's like, I didn't call out for you, man. Like, and I'm like, okay. So I can't explain that. I have no explanation for it. Why I would be sitting there and it sounded like somebody like 6 inches away from my ear behind me, facing towards the exterior of the house where no one could be. Sounded like they just went, "Hey." No explanation, dude. Like, it's just one of those things that I'll scratch my head about for the rest of my life. It's like, what was that? Like, what was that? And I don't know what it was, but come to find out later, even though I lived, so I ended up staying in that house by myself for a few months. And I never had any issues. Like, that was the only weird thing that ever happened to me in that house, working on it and staying in it. But come to find out later, because the market kind of turned, so we turned that property into a rental property. So we didn't move. We didn't sell it. We just rented it out. Some tenants moved in after I left that property. Some tenants moved in, and Brian told me one day, he was like, "Yeah, like one of the tenants one night saw like this person moving halfway through the bottom floor. Like, they said they could only see the top half of their body moving through the floorboards downstairs, like an aberration, like you were talking about, Nikki. Like it's sort of cartoony looking almost.
Yeah.
And he told me that. I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. Like, so it's a little ghost story that came from that house not too much longer after I heard that voice, like, boom, like, sounded like it was right there. And so there were some ghost stories. And again, 100-year-old house at the time. Now it would be more closer approaching to 120-year-old. home, and it was definitely that old. It was balloon framed and everything. The glass on the windows was distorted. I mean, it was every bit 100-year-old home.
Yeah.
And so that was the only weird thing like that ever happened to me. And the other thing that happened to me was the flying. the freaking gargoyle I saw not too long after that. Yeah.
Welcome, JC.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see everybody.
Hey, JC.
I love your mask.
Hello.
Yeah, I had to switch masks because the one I showed you before, when I put it on, I like what you experienced. I could not breathe, nor could I talk. Although some people might find that to be a good thing.
Yeah.
Hey, Pat, what do you think about, or any of you guys, if, I'm trying to say this without sounding ridiculous, but what if sometimes there is some sort of another dimension that happens where we think we saw a ghost or we heard something, but I know that I listened to somebody on a show not too long ago where the lady's actually an actress, and she said that her and her girlfriend were sitting in their apartment, and a gal come running out of their kitchen screaming at them and then disappeared. And
Wow.
what I'm wondering is could there, what are your thoughts on that? Is there a possibility, because these people are completely level-headed. In fact, she said her girlfriend broke up with her and became a preacher after that. But because I've noticed too that whenever people describe ghost things where they've actually seen them, it always sounds to me like that apparition is just as surprised as the person who saw it. So I'm just curious, throwing that out there, what you guys think about that. And JC.
And I think there's just no way to know.
Yeah.
When weird stuff like that happens, and by the way, I've had sleep paralysis too, Nikki, and I'll never forget the first time it happened to me. But it happened to me several times after that. And at this point, it pretty much just chalked it up to a thing, something internal. That it was internal, not external. I can't be sure about that, but seems to be. Anyway, there's just no way to know. Like, and I know people, like, dude, I know people that have way, way crazier stories, like at seeing ghostly figures and stuff. They're my friends. I believe them just like I believe, like Jay, like you and Joe, about your Bigfoot encounters.
Same here. Same here.
So it's like, I know these people are telling me the reality of what happened to them and what they saw, but I can't explain it. I mean, and I don't think they can. I don't think anyone can, because at the end of the day, it is what it is. It's the unexplained, right? Like you can't really like explain it. You might can theorize. So when people say ghosts, they're saying, hey, it's dead people. Well, I mean, because they recognize what they see as a
Patrick
person.
Vaughn. Who's Patrick Vaughn tonight? I was going to come on as Patrick Vaughn.
Well, I was this close. She brought me in. I was fixing to back out and come on as Curious Cryptid.
Yeah.
This close. I was just reaching down, hit the button, and she brought me on. But I applaud all of y'all. Y'all are creepy as hell. Mila Kunis over in the corner is just absolutely stunning. You know. Yeah, absolutely stunning.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Jay, to answer your question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Patrick.
Whenever y'all are done, I have a ghost story.
Oh, cool.
But y'all keep going.
Yeah.
Malacoons.
I was thinking something else totally, but no, Jay, I don't know. I'm kind of along the same lines as Trish.
I got mute.
I kind of think along the same lines. There's no way to really tell. Now we know that there's at least 3 dimensions, right? So,
Mhm.
um, you know, how many more dimensions are there after that, and what do they entail, right? I don't know, but who was it? Was it Einstein or somebody that was talking about how many different dimensions there were? Um, I saw. Of course, it had to be a Star Trek episode,
Probably.
and it was a Star Trek episode where Data was talking to a hologram recreation of, I guess it was, or no, it wasn't Data. It was Barclay, Lieutenant Commander Barclay, and he was talking to a computer-generated image of Einstein, and he had a bunch of other geniuses throughout history trying to figure out some problem. And then and Einstein mentioned something. He's like, "Oh, but if you were to do that, then we would have to consider X number of dimensions instead of just 27 or whatever it is that he figured out, right?" So what do those dimensions contain? Um, if they exist, things that we consider ghosts, maybe, you know.
Yeah.
One thing I've always wondered. Here's what I've always wondered, and uh, is there a possibility, since we've done nuclear type of things, is there a possibility we could have set a ripple in time? Uh, uh, Something like that. I mean, these are great things that I love to talk about. And is it possible that through nuclear weapons and breaking sound barriers and things like that, have we caused a ripple in time? Pat, I'm going to die tonight. I am going to die. I'm going to be so happy, though.
Of course.
As
All are, sweetie. Now you got me going into persona mode. Like, I love being able to do this.
Okay, now the adjust
How much
is
fun that is.
the adjust is supposed to happen not when other people can see you do it.
oh, but it's better when we see him do it.
Unless a woman wants to draw attention to herself, then she will.
Absolutely.
And that's a barfly right there. Pat, Trish is a barfly, obviously.
No.
JC's got class. Trish does not.
Well,
Our problem with dimensions is this: I don't think there's a ripple in time from nuclear explosions or anything like that. I don't see how that could even be close to scratching the surface of a thing. But dimensions are hard to envision. So when you start getting into dimensional thinking, then you have to. We live in a 3-dimensional world.
Right.
So we can conceptualize a 2-dimensional world where people if somebody was in a 2-dimensional world, it would be extremely difficult for them to even conceptualize what a 3rd dimension would be. Therefore, it's hard for us to even imagine what a 4th dimension would look like, if that makes any sense. Although some say time is the 4th dimension, but that's something that we can wrap our heads around in some capacity. So 5th dimension, now you're getting off the charts. Anyway, sorry. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to let Squatchoween come in here and tell her story.
How do you explain ghosts with clothes? I mean, who makes ghosts clothes? So that's the part that I understand. We may have a spirit, but do your clothes have a spirit? If I died tonight, would you guys always see me with a cowboy hat and a red shirt?
Yeah, I don't know what that is, dude. I don't think there's one person on this planet, Jay, that can explain that. Not one.
JC, can we ask JC something? Are you alive?
I am. I'm just rolling
She's
with it.
playing the part.
Rolling with it. Can you guys see? I tried to make it so that my glasses made my eyes look all big and blue. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah,
Like
yeah, right there.
Aquawoman or
When
something.
you turn it right, perfect. They look blue.
Yeah,
That's really loud.
I'm not in love. and it looks like Trish has a couple of dates that he can set
We
up.
got squash bait coming in. I know. You need to sit. You need to sit down and do your thing.
We all know who runs that family, don't we?
I have an extra square for you, Squatch Bait.
But
Come on your own.
all right, my own personal ghost story
All right.
Yes, go.
that it spans about 19 years. A friend of mine's channel actually wanted it, and I wrote it out a while back anonymously. But a house was built in a cemetery, 1890s. It was the caretaker's house, and he lived in it till he died. And in the 50s, a doctor who was looking for some retirement, or an investment that would return his investment for retirement, bought the house and moved it one block over and set it up as a rent house in a lot. Well, in the 60s, by the 60s, no renter would stay in there very long. And my parents bought it. And in 73, I come along. Well, I didn't have the best childhood. The female of the family was addicted to pills and alcohol and left when I was very young. And the male was an alcoholic and an abusive alcoholic, extremely abusive alcoholic. And so I was alone most of the time. And the most kindest thing in that house was an invisible friend. And it would come and check on me in my bedroom. You could hear it walk across the house, through the house to my bedroom, and check on me. And mostly it was after some severe beatings. And it felt like the kindest thing in that house. And that continued on from the time I was in diapers until, 12 years old. I remember 12 years old, I had a best friend. He come over and he spent the night. And I heard it get up from the table, scoot the chair back, and come walk across the floor and up the stairs. And I said, lay down, it's coming to check on me. And so he lays down on a futon on the floor, and I'm in bed. It comes, it walks in my bedroom. Can't see anything, but it walks in the bedroom. Turns around, walks back downstairs. You hear the chair slide back out and it sits down by at the dinner table. And my friend pokes his head up above my bed like this. He goes, "It's a GD ghost in your house." And I didn't know. I grew up with this. I didn't think anything about it. It was just the kindest thing that was in that house. Okay. And he called his mother. In 10 minutes, the mother picked him up. He was out of there. He never come back. We still hung out, but he wouldn't come in the house. And I told him, I said, it's no big deal. And then I hit puberty, and things changed. I had cabinets opening and slamming right in my face. If there was any dishes in there, they'd have fell out on the floor. That's how hard all the cabinets would slam. It was, and I had dealt with much scarier things than a damn ghost, so I wasn't that scared. It wasn't the meanest thing in the house, but it went from being something peaceful to something not peaceful. It was slamming stuff. It was stomping on the walls, stomping on the ceiling. And one night, I was 14. I opened my eyes. I'm laying in bed, and I opened my eyes, and it's staring at me with two red eyes. Close together. It's so black it looks slick. And it crawls across the floor. It goes up the wall. It crawls over the wall. And it's on my wall above my headboard looking straight down at me. And it circled me all night. Okay. And it circled me all night. And eventually I was able to get out of the house. I was eventually able. I told my father about it, who was drunk most of the time. And he wouldn't believe me. He says, I ain't heard nothing. So I told him about it. I got made fun of. But as far as I know, that ghost is still in there.
So, Patrick, let me tell you something. I appreciate you telling this story because I am also a victim of abuse growing up. And that I think that makes a lot of difference in how sometimes things happen to us. And I appreciate you telling that story. I grew up. The only love I knew is that I'm going to beat you half to death because I love you. So thank you for that. We all have to make our peace within ourselves and all that, but I appreciate you telling that story.
Well, my father was Native American, my mother was Dutch Irish. And since I came out blonde haired, blue eyed, he labeled me a bastard. And he would beat me for being a bastard. And and that's all I was until I got out of the house. But it gets weirder. It gets weirder than that. Some months ago, I get woke up and there's this black, dark shadow being, and I'm back in that house. I'm upstairs in my old bedroom, and this
I
shadow
still have
being
that.
is
I still have that. I still have
yeah,
that.
that shadow being is holding my father out a window, and my father's been dead 10 years, and he's holding my father out a window, and I run over and I grab him, I snatch him back in the window. Well, then my father turns into that
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
being, and and that was the first night in a long time that I actually slept that I didn't have a cross above my head for years. I forgot and fell asleep without a cross above my head, and that happened. So, yeah,
So after Squatch Bait, let's discuss a few things like that. I think it's important. I'll tell you a few things. I'll let you into my life a little bit too after that. But I'm anxious to hear the Dark Angel.
I don't know about Squatch bait, but she's definitely Squatchobi bait.
I think Sasquatch could have some fun too.
Well, you guys are going to be hard to follow. I've heard a lot of commonalities in our stories. Mine involve the first one is about an orb. Thank you very much. First one is about an orb, and then
He was whistling at me.
oh, that's right.
well, hell no.
I'm sitting next to a woman, so it's all good. Anyway, so the first one is about an orb, and the second two are about principalities, evil principalities, things like that. So the first one's easy. It was I was probably 8, and I was spending the night at my friend's house. My sister and I were, and it was our neighbor. We grew up with these people, and I slept in the closet in the bedroom because my sister and Nancy, they had the bed, and I was the younger one, so I got stuck in the closet. So we finally went to sleep. About 2:00 in the morning, this orange ball sitting right in front of me like this, and there was no stream of light coming from it. It was just there, and it was 3-dimensional. I'll never forget it. And I woke up screaming, and my sister and Nancy just said, it's probably just Nick, the neighbor, messing with us with a flashlight. Go back to bed. And they went back to sleep, and I freaked out still, and I just kept waking them up and kept waking them up. And like Nancy's mom got on to me, and she's like, you don't stop that, you're going to be in big trouble. So I ended up put myself in the coat closet, no windows in the room. Boom, it was still there. They couldn't see it, and it would like disappear whenever someone else would appear, and then it would appear as soon as it was just me and it. And it freaked me out. I didn't know what it was. I knew it was real. I know it was real now. To this day, I know that was real.
I don't blame it.
So it's just like it was the flattery. I don't know how to take that. And then the other two are after I became Christian again. What? After I became a Christian again, like rededicated my life to Christ, I was at church 5 days a week. I was teaching the kids about spiritual warfare, and it was the end of the lesson, and one of the girls was about to graduate. She was 18. She had just been saved, and no, my Sunday school class, she started giggling, and she like rolled her head back, and she started giggling, and I knew it wasn't her, and I asked her to stop, and she didn't stop, and then her head would say roll back, and her eyes were rolling back in the back of her head. She had her mouth open, grinning like this awful cackle, and I said, okay, what's going on here, Harley? What's going on? And I just started praying. I was like, whatever's going on here has got to go in the name of Jesus. I don't know what's going on, but if it's some evil principality or evil spirit, you got to go in the name of Jesus. It's God's house. There's no room for you here. And I said, so is there anyone there? After it kept laughing, and Beelzebub, many are we. I was like, great. And now I had to practice what I had preached for all those lessons, and I just got my anointing oil out. I got her forehead, prayed over her. Like the other deacons from the church came in because it was getting loud. So I was praying it off loud. In the name of Jesus, you got to go. I was getting loud and mad at it. It wouldn't leave. And finally, deacons from the church came in, and they were like, I don't know if Kim should be in here for this. And they're like, Kim's doing this. So they opened the, meanwhile, church is about to start. So everybody's in the congregation like, what's going on back there? They opened one end of the door, the back of the church, one at the front, chased it out of there in the name of Jesus. It was crazy. And then Harley came too. She just went, Loop. Like everything was fine. It's like, what's going on? She had no idea what happened. It was nuts. So that was my first and only exorcism so far. And the other one was sometime before that happened. I was at home, and the way my house was set up, the front door had 2 little windows next to it. And I was sitting in my den working on a praise dance for the church because I had led a praise dance team, and I had like 6 girls under me. So I had to come up with something for us. So I was working on that. And I noticed that feeling you get when someone's looking at you. I had that. And I looked at my window, and there were 2 sets of red eyes, boop, at each window. I was like, come on, really? So I went out in the yard, prayed a hedge of protection around the house, anointed the mailbox, even got my neighbors, came back in. Didn't think anything of it. And look over, it was still there. And look over, it was still there. And then opened the door, and it was a winged creature, but it was small, like the size of a warthog. So it was a winged creature. There were 2 of them, they looked just the same, with like a hog face, and they were, like I said, little. But their wings were big, and they had like reptile skin. But there were 2 of them, they were black, and they jumped down onto my porch and scurried off like. And I was like, that's right, you heard me, you gotta go in the name of Jesus. In case you didn't know, Jesus always wins. Bow, but it was crazy. It is like the more I learned about spiritual warfare, the more the enemy tried to come at me. And I was like, really, what you got? What you got? So,
Yeah.
But I saw
a lot
them,
to do that.
when they scurried across the yard, they looked like warthogs. It was crazy. And they had their little wings. So those are my stories.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Just
my,
gave you
I wasn't really
wonderful-
that phased though. It was like, that was bound to happen. I keep shooting them off. So
Next year, I'm so dressing up some warthogs.
nice. Put some wings on them. Nice.
Come on, Patrick.
Put some scales on their skin.
Well, think about it. I could put them on a leash and go walking down while all the kids are trick or treating.
Nice. I think it's your dog in costume. Maybe.
Jeez.
You coming back?
Now, if I saw that, man, I'd be like, where's the whiskey? I'm out of here.
Man.
How
Funny
about
how-
you, JC? Do you have a personal scary story?
Yeah, I have a couple of odd things that happened, and even one that just actually it was yesterday. But so my father passed away in '97, and the day that he passed away, I didn't know right away that he had passed away. They got hold of me a little bit later in the day, but between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm ready to go to work. I'm out on my back porch, walking out to the garage, and all of a sudden I get violently ill. I mean, like shockingly violently ill. And I thought, I'm going to hit the ground. And I was shaking and all that kind of really violent response. I got myself back in the house, got kind of cleaned up because I had to go to work. I had to do a presentation that morning, and got into work at 11:30 that day. They pulled me out of an all-company meeting. My father had died at the time that was happening, because I left my house at 8:15, walked out on the back porch to get to work by 9, and that was the time that my father had died.
Wow.
Wow.
And so I was in Colorado, he was in Illinois. So that's strange. How do you explain it? I don't know how to explain it. It's just
My
strange.
dad, my mom and dad had an experience almost like that when my grandmother, my dad's mom, passed. They were on a cruise on the East Coast. And when she passed, they were in their stateroom when all of a sudden, early in the morning, the door to their stateroom flew open. And I don't know if on cruises, those doors are very sealed.
Yeah. Yeah. They're heavy.
And that was just something kind of weird that happened.
Mhm.
But it was at that exact time.
Yeah. Isn't it strange?
Mhm.
It's really strange. Are you lying? You laughing at me now, Patrick? Or
No, ma'am. Someone said Obi-Wan needs to step away from the snacks.
okay, that's rude, but maybe true.
All right, now.
The chat is really good tonight, and every once in a while, just like he's laughing, you see me laughing. I'm not laughing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I see some funny stuff.
Look at
and I
that
can't help
cool.
Say that to my face now.
You're gonna get curious cryptid all excited seeing that now. Be careful.
Yeah. That's very
Continue,
nice,
JC.
actually. You've done good costume wise.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Love it, Joe.
Yeah, well done. And now this relates to my father's passing as well. So I had to fly back to Illinois for his funeral. And we're Catholics, so they did the whole big Catholic thing. And I go to the airport to fly back, and I'm not in the St. Louis airport for more than a couple of minutes when security pulls me and they want to do a full body search and go through my bags. So I must have been distressed. They must have seen that I was visually distressed because we had buried my father the day before, and I also came from a dysfunctional, violent home. And so all that mixed stuff comes up, right? So I was not in a good space. So anyway, they pull me. They literally, at that time, I don't know what happens now, but that time, they put you in another room behind a screen. And I thought, what is going on here? And so I'm just standing there. And so they pat me down and all this stuff. And then they start going through my bag. And the guy goes, "What's this?" And I go, What do you mean? And I look in the bag, and there's a white box. And I realize that it's the crucifix from my father's coffin. And so I go, well, that's the crucifix from my father's coffin. We buried him yesterday. We're Catholic. And the guy just stares at it for a minute. He slams the lid on the box. He jams all my stuff back in my bag like 90 miles an hour. I've never seen clothes fly so fast. And he goes, "Please go." And I've wondered, now you're just she squatching right there.
Oh.
You're she squatching. So
JC,
anyway.
I love you. I love you right now.
I saw that.
Right.
I clicked off it very fast, but I saw it.
Give me a break, folks. I don't have any cigarettes, so.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were doing a she squatch imitation.
Yeah, now just roll it around in your mouth and go, "Oh, we're going to this. We're going to this conference."
Yeah. Let it touch your nose.
I had no idea.
And not to be tacky, throw in some tongue action.
Yeah.
It's true.
Oh my
I'm not throwing
God.
the women under the bus. I'm just observing what happened.
Oh.
So, I
Yuck.
wondered. Yeah, stuff. So I wondered since that incident, my mother put that crucifix in my bags without telling me. I've wondered if I would have had to miss my flight while they checked my story and went all through my stuff. And so I thought that was a really kind of interesting, odd thing that happened around that.
Wow.
And again, I don't have an explanation for it because, even back in 97, if they told you at an airport, they were serious. Right? And so that was another odd thing around my father's passing. And then I do have another one, but we'll wait to see later if you guys don't have enough to fill in because it's a horror story that could have been, but it wasn't because this girl got out.
Bam.
Yeah, that. You know him. You've probably been there.
Oh, yeah.
And so the other thing that is weird, and it just happened the other day, and not too long ago, I think it was Patrick and I were talking about neither of us will go in a house with a Ouija board.
I won't either.
I won't either. And I've been, ever since then, and it's kind of that season, but ever since then, I've been thinking about Ouija boards. I like to do long walks on the weekends because I have the time to do that. And so I did a long walk on Saturday, and I come home and I walk in front of my house, and somebody has broken a Ouija board in half
No.
and like taken a torch to it or something and like burnt it and then must have broken it in half and thrown it at the front gate of my
What?
fenced front yard.
Wow.
And it's weird because I've been thinking about Ouija boards. So I just picked it up and I put it out in the garbage can and everything's fine. But that's
Right.
strange because I've been thinking about Ouija boards. So
Right.
it's strange. It's just strange.
So,
Yeah.
so JC, when I was 14, we moved to Vancouver. I was 13 or 14. We moved to Vancouver, Washington, from Yamhill, Oregon. In this house, they had all kinds of Mad magazines from the very beginning. I wish I had them now, but anyway, and all this stuff that was in this house, there was a Ouija board. And my mom said, "Now this is in July. This is the weekend of 4th of July." She goes, "No, not in my house." And she was not a Christian, but she goes, "Not in my house." And she puts it in the fireplace, and it caught on fire. It burned without nobody doing it. It burned right in front of our eyes. So that's why I say, no Ouija boards, no way, no how. I don't know, no way.
Well, yeah, and I developed a natural, and that's an interesting story that it just started itself on fire. But I was exposed as a very small child. I was staying at the grandparents' house and older cousins, which can get you in a lot of trouble, by the way.
Oh.
Even if they're teenage girls, they get together and they cause all kinds of trouble. I'm just saying. And so I was like 6 or 7, somewhere in there. And I stayed there for a couple of weeks. I don't know why, but I stayed there for a couple of weeks. And my teenage cousins were there with their friends doing Ouija board in my grandparents' basement. And it freaked me out at the time because I was very little. And I'm like over on the side watching, right, with all these teenagers. They must have been 14 to 16, somewhere in there. Just old enough to be dangerous, right? And I remember watching them and then being out like a light. And I always felt like there was dark energy somehow around me since then. Isn't that weird?
Wow.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. Here we go again. I knew this was going to happen. And I'm surprised that I came on this show. You people are being very traumatic to me. You reminded me. You're coming up with shit and stuff that I forgot. You mentioned Ouija boards, and I told this story, I think, on some other show. Ouija boards, I got no. Because we were messing with Ouija board once when we were teens. We were in this shed out back, and we were playing with this, and I thought Ouija board, we're going to play around with it, and we're going to shove it around the thing and freak each other out, And we were in there, and we started doing this, and we just had these 3 candles lit, and we were, getting ready, and we're like, okay, let's invoke the spirits, and we put our hands on the thing, and, so I was going to start pushing it towards, but before I could, somebody else did, or I thought so, and I was like, all right, who's pushing it? And they're like, I didn't push it. And he said, well, let's keep going. And so we put our hands back on it, and they were like, are there any spirits here tonight? And right at that moment, we all felt the same thing. Like that thing moved, and all of a sudden there was no wind up to this point. This wind blew through that shed, blew out the candles, and that thing started spinning on the Ouija board.
No.
Yes, by itself, it was moving, and we were like, holy and
Right.
we were gone, dude. Left that thing there, never went back. As far as I know, that Ouija board is still sitting in that shed to this very day. If it's still
God.
It's crazy.
Wow.
That's why I don't mess with them.
I also have something about a Ouija board. Tribal elder, his granddaughter, got a Ouija board, got all into it, her and her friends. I wasn't into it. I watched. But I developed a hypothesis and a theory that this Ouija board is it's everybody that has their finger on this marker. They're actually individually generating an entity that is mixed of all of them.
Well, they're where they're going to get adamant.
So it's
We can hear you.
You
We
guys
can hear
aren't
you,
muted.
Christian Squatch Bait.
So if you want to do
But,
something really embarrassing, now's the time to do it.
Yes. But yeah, you know, so I was going to do an experiment. All right. So these people each have one finger on this thing, has a glass on it, and it's sliding along. And I thought, okay, this is all of y'all's personalities put together, creating an illusion for you. And they're like, no, it's not. I said, yes. So I argued with them. So finally, they quit, and the girl invites me to put my finger on it. So I put my finger on it, and she goes, it's going to start moving in a minute. I said, whatever. So it starts moving. I'm not pushing. It's not her. She's not pushing. I'm watching her fingertip to see if I see any change in the blood of her finger under her nail to see if I can, you know, point out any pressure. But neither one of us are pushing this thing, and it's moving. And I said, I think this is horse dung. And the thing
Horse shit?
levitates. I wasn't gonna say it. It's Nikki's channel.
Oh, sorry.
But
We're trying not to swear so much. It's actually, you know, it kind of lowers the tone when people swear all the
Yeah.
time. So we're trying not to swear so much.
Well, it literally levitates off the board with both her fingers off of it and shoots across the room. The only thing that left that board faster than that was me. I left there. I got out of the house. I'm done. And so those things are a gateway. They are something. There is something real about them.
There is.
There's something up for
Oh
sure.
my God.
God, scared the crap out of me.
I think Pat's doing a great job.
Oh, it's
Thank you.
awesome. Hats off. Hats off, Turner. That is awesome. I like that.
Thanks, Vaughn. Thanks,
I mean,
JC.
If you're actually
literally-
wearing, sorry,
Go ahead.
please. If you're actually wearing a bra, you get to experience the prison that it is.
I literally had to wipe the Mountain Dew off my phone when I opened this channel up. I mean, I literally spewed Mountain Dew on my phone.
Man.
I was laughing so hard at him. Oh my God.
Isn't that a booby? What you call that, a booby trap?
Yeah.
Hey, you're gonna get my show taken off.
Hey, but I'm a dude. I don't have real boobs, so it's okay.
So what about the that you guys were talking earlier, and I wonder if that has to do with people who are abused or whatever, but that sleep paralyzing thing, because I can tell you it started hitting me when I was around 12 or 13, and I would see everything from just hearing voices and growling to at one point when I got in my early 20s, I saw a little boy that was dressed like he was from like the 1700s or something,
Wow.
going all the way in all these years to just chanting and humming, and I found myself laying on tables and stuff. To just like a couple months ago, I mentioned this on one of the shows I've been a guest on, but I finally confronted the entity that has screwed with me through this my whole life, and I walked up to this thing now this is happening right here. I wake up from the bedroom, but I'm still laying here. I got out of the bed, I walked through the hall, and there's Sibylla laying there looking at me, and my wife's asleep on the couch. And I came back in here, and I grabbed that entity, and I gave it a kiss, and told it just to leave me alone from now on. Now, shortly after that, I've had dreams and nightmares because of my childhood of my mother and my stepdad. Right up to, I mean, what these vicious people do to you when you're a child will stick with you. I'm going to be 60 in a couple of weeks. It stuck with me my whole life. But what I finally happened was I confronted him in a dream I was having, because he still haunts my dreams. He still has the power over me. And I just confronted him in my dream, and I told him, I stood in front of a whole group of people face to face with him, and I said, this man abuses children. And I took control of that, and I literally took control. And that's made a big difference for me. Taking that entity, and I held it by the back of the head, and I said, I love you. And I pulled it toward me, and I kissed it. And I have never been bothered since.
Wow.
I don't blame it.
Yeah.
That's another thing that is creepy, man. I mean, um, dreams can be creepy. I've had plenty of them. I don't know, most dreams are based in certain things. Your brain takes in all the information that's been crammed into it during the day, and when you fall asleep and you hit that REM, some of the stuffs get through a filter and it just gets mixed up, and you can end up with some really creepy dreams. Um, as far as waking moments of creepiness, like I said, I haven't had too many. You guys reminded me of a couple that I just had completely forgotten, but I've had plenty of creepy dreams, man. Um,
Ah,
I have a reoccurring one, and those are the weirdest, man. Those are the ones that scare me, or the reoccurring nightmares, man. And I have one. It's my house, but it's not this house. But it is my house. In my dream, I know it's my house, and there's this one room that I can't go into and it's always dark. And every time I get close to going in this room, my pulse picks up, my heart rate starts beating, and I know I can't go in there because there's something in that room. Something incorporeal, not something physical, but something in that room that doesn't want me in there. And every time I feel my heart starting to beat just thinking about this dream, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It is crazy, but it's because it's so real. When you're having this dream, it's so real. And it's like the house is haunted, man. This one room is like evilly haunted, and it always stays dark. And no matter what I do, I can't get rid of the damn thing. I can't make it leave the house, man. And yeah, so dreams can be really creepy. I don't know where that dream comes from because I've never lived in a haunted house that I know of.
These are not the droids you're looking for.
Yeah, these are not the dreams I'm looking for, actually. But, yeah.
When I worked at the diaper factory downtown Vancouver, we had a separate warehouse. Now this is how strong I got throughout time, throughout the years, and all that. So I'm sitting there doing paperwork. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm on a graveyard shift, and the electric forklift, you have to sit down on them for them to start beeping and actually turn on. And I'm sitting there doing the paperwork, and I hear this beep, beep, beep. I look over, and this forklift's going crazy. And I said, I don't have time for this. And it just stopped. I think that sometimes if you get that right frame of mind, you're in that right position where you're good all the way around, you can, because it literally stopped as soon as I said, I ain't got time for this. I refuse. I've been working where I work now. The year I started there, I was the only one there at swing shift one night in the service shop. Everybody else was in the main building, and something pulled me. I literally almost half turned me around. So I turned around and like, oh shit, there's nobody here. But it didn't bother me. I'm like, I said I don't have time for this. I looked down, my tape measure's not there. It was just there. And so I look. I go through the building. I come back, and it's sitting right where it was supposed to be. I go through that shit all the time, and I just always say, stop it. I don't have time for this. I have to get this stuff out. It happens to me all the time.
Well, the presence of spirits and even evil, to me, it suggests there's also the other flip side of that coin, which is also good.
Mm-hmm.
Those who, I don't know anybody that can say, oh, evil's cool, evil exists, all this stuff, and there's no God. And I'm not preaching that. I'm just saying there has to be a yin and a yang there. But I do think that way, and I have a blessed cross I wear everywhere I go, and that helps, stave off the bad things. Because growing up in a house like I grew up in, there was nothing friendly about that.
Same here. You don't beat somebody half to death when they're children and tell them I did this because I love you. That's bullshit. That's an excuse. And don't feel sorry for me. I have a great life. I've been married almost 40 years. Only person in my family, even cousins, that have been married one time to the same person. I'm very proud of that. I have one person who raised my kids. That was me. My wife raised our children. And I'm
Yes.
very happy about that. I could have made a decision to go, I'm going to go the crybaby way, commit crimes and blame it on my childhood and all the other bullshit. Now, I did go through drug addiction. And if it wasn't for her, I would have never gotten through it. But when you see me occasionally doing this, my jaws are moving back and forth. That's from a meth addiction years ago. I can never get rid of that.
Yeah, I've heard of
But,
know about that.
But you know what? Here we are. We hit rock bottom. She brought me back. And that's what people do who love each other. And
No shit, dude.
he knows the demons. She knows the damn demons I had to grow up with and everything.
That's
I went
a love
from a
story,
stone
dude.
cold drug addict, alcoholic to somebody who can control their liquor now. I literally stopped drinking for a year, and I made that decision myself. Nobody asked me. Nobody said, I can't stand this anymore, nothing. I had to find out what was wrong with me. So I said to myself one night, I'm going to stop drinking. And I did for a year. And I figured out what it was. It was my childhood. And I was blaming everyone who loved me as an adult who had nothing to do with it. And so I was able to, thank God, come to this realization for myself that this woman had nothing to do with it. She loves me, and she loves me every day. My children had nothing to do with it. It was the son of a bitch that raised me and my mother. So, that's just, and like I said, don't feel sorry for me. I'm doing great. I'm doing wonderful. I live a very happy life. So I just want you to know that sometimes those demons can carry on into your adulthood, and I realized what it was that was wrong with me. So now I can drink 2 drinks. I'm good. I can drink 3 or 4 beers. I'm barbecuing 6 or 7 maybe, but I'm good. It's no longer I'm drinking to bury something.
Well,
And there's a difference between a guy who's burying something or trying to keep it hidden than a guy who's just saying, hey, you know what? Let's have some great food. Let's do some drinking and all that stuff. Everybody's being cool about it. And so I learned that myself by making a decision myself. But I do think the demons are real when it comes to that kind of stuff. It can make you turn all the serial killers and rapists. So it's always they were abused as children. Well, I decided I wasn't going to make that. I was not going to make that decision. I was going to be a father and a husband. And that's, even though my demons stayed with me early on, she's the one that made me who I am today. So I'm very grateful to that. And when people say that we have a love story, we do. So
well, anything you're strong enough to overcome is beneath you, is weaker than you, and you are that much more of a person to do so. I chuckle at the people that come up and try to hurt me because you don't know me, dear.
yeah, you can't hurt me. You cannot.
Yeah.
You cannot. How dare you even try? You can't.
I'll chuckle at them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's low hanging fruit.
But yeah. So I just destroy myself with Sasquatching.
That's it. Man. That's probably what I did. I was lucky, man. My dad was an alcoholic, no doubt about it, but he wasn't a physically abusive alcoholic. He could be mentally abusive at times, but he wasn't a physically abusive, and he never did mete out any kind of punishment for anything I did when he was drunk. He would always be sober. That was just the way he was, because that way, And I will admit, anything I ever got punished for as a kid, I deserved it, man. Trust me, I did. He never punished me for anything that didn't warrant punishment. But so I was fortunate that way. But he was mentally abusive at times, and that can leave you, some scars. I came through it okay though. I'm not a heavy drinker. I used to be when I was young, man. I drink every day, man. Drink like a fish.
Yeah, me too.
But now I'm down to, having a beer occasionally every now and then. Sometimes I go crazy and I'll drink a whole 12 pack and just get drunk. But most of the time, Nah, I'm not drinking.
I don't think there's a problem with that. Same with I have a very close friend in Oklahoma. They're just now learning. They're starting to try to pass a law for legalizing marijuana, like it is here in Oregon. Uh, oh, the potheads! You know, the potheads. Oh my God, the potheads! Look, there's a difference between somebody who comes home, smokes a couple bowls. It's no different from the person that comes home, drinks a half a gallon of wine, or 2 or 3 shots of whiskey or whatever. You don't drink and drive. You don't smoke and drive. But we have, look, I know people in very high places that smoke marijuana. They did it back when it was illegal, and they do it now.
Yeah,
And
I'm open about
now
it. I
it's
do.
legal. And
I
there's a
do.
difference between a pothead and a person who smokes marijuana. There's a difference between an alcoholic and somebody who drinks beer or has whiskey or whatever. There's a big difference between the bum on the street who has to spend everything he's got for aqua velva to drink that, and a guy that comes home after working his ass off and having a couple of beers and barbecuing and stuff. There are alcoholics and then there are the people that drink. There are potheads and the people that smoke some weed.
Yeah.
And I know, like I said, I know people in high places, including policemen that do this. So
yeah. Well, they just legalized it here in New York not too long ago, and I use it. I'm wide open about myself, man. I use it, but I do it now. When I was young, was I a pothead? Yes.
I mean,
now I smoke it pretty much for PTSD.
Does anybody else have any scarier stories than what Mr. Turner's neighbors are looking at tonight?
JC says she had another one. I'm curious.
Yeah, go for it, JC.
Well, this is kind of like the horror story that could have been. And, so it just kind of take it for what it is. And I'm fine. It took me a little while after this incident, but I'm fine. So some years ago, I was dating this guy who I still this day call him Toxic Tim. Okay. And so I was in my house, I was in my kitchen, I was cooking pancakes, and he makes this remark, and this was a preparation remark. He makes this remark about, oh, you're making pancakes from scratch? I thought you were faking it and doing blah, 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 blah. And he goes on down this story about how all women lie and fake things. I'm like, no, I have the recipe on this pink sheet of paper, and I've had this since college, so no, I'm actually making pancakes. He's quiet for a few minutes while I'm like getting the food like kind of farther along, and he says to me, and for people who are kind of sensitive, just be careful. This man says to me, it's every man's fantasy to drive a woman to suicide.
What?
Yep.
Whoa.
And I froze.
Psychopathic.
Yes, psycho. And so I froze.
Wow.
Because I had a history of trauma, and he had realized this because we had been dating for a few months, and so he realized that I was a good target, that I would be a good target for abuse. So that preparatory thing about all women lie and blah blah blah, that was him doing a feeler to see if I would be a good target of abuse. And because I just kind of was like, no, that doesn't even make any sense, he went in for, in essence, kind of like a kill shot there. Because he knew that could be a hook or something, right? And he was really psycho. So I didn't date him for that much longer after that. And there were other things that went along with that. But I knew in that moment that I was going to get out of that situation. So there are things that thankfully we avoid and we get out. He made it obvious enough that, and I wasn't emotionally hooked. Imagine, what if I had been very emotionally hooked and was going to be, I'm going to the one who's going to save this guy from himself, these thoughts. And that happens all the time. And so that's the horror story that could have been.
If he was worth a shit, he'd have been cooking you pancakes.
That's right. He'd have been putting blueberries in them too, JC.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I used to take the aluminum foil and fold it and make it a heart shape and cook the heart shaped pancakes.
Aw.
Now is that
my husband
up in the middle there? Is that Jen from the She Squatchers? Oh no, that's Joby one. No, my bad. Sorry.
Yeah, that's
Go like this. Go like this.
red flag.
Is that a minion?
Yeah, I can't do that as well as her. Yeah.
But yeah, but you know what? The thing
That was one of my first costumes. I was a minion.
and every
Go
time
ahead.
you put on one of those things and then look at your phone and then look up and switch your head around like you normally do and then look at your phone, I keep laughing and it's not appropriate because these guys are talking about very serious stories.
Well, that's
that
what's
are
funny.
watching
She's
on
like
TV.
this. She can't see. She's going like.
I couldn't
That's
see.
why I had my Mountain Dew up there.
I couldn't
Deadpool.
see that. I have to go watch the whole show because every time I take my glasses off, I
You've
don't
been
know
a
what the
real
hell's
kick
going
tonight.
on.
You've been a kick
Yeah.
tonight, Nikki. That's been hilarious watching you.
Especially,
I am
who,
hot right now. Let me tell you.
who has that many Halloween costumes, man? I mean, that's
I
amazing.
have kids.
That's
I
amazing.
I saved them all. They're
I
all.
thought
in
I
my
had a
closet.
lot, but I mean, you like dwarfed my collection of Halloween costumes, man.
JC's someone from Monsters
Oh.
Ball, isn't she?
Pardon?
Aren't you from Monsters Ball?
No. I
That
had
next
two
lady?
masks, but the other one, I couldn't breathe, so I had to get this one. This was actually I went on a cruise and there was a couple several years ago now, and there was going to be a big birthday party, and they wanted it to be a masked birthday party. So
Yeah.
I had this because it's easier not to have your whole face covered when it's a dinner and all that stuff. Yeah.
Fucking. Oh, sorry.
Very classic.
Trish, you look like you're right off the Partridge Family. I swear to God, man.
Yeah, I changed it up a little bit. Yeah, we did a little switcheroo there. Obviously,
I thought the
What's
Dark Angel was pretty cool, though.
What's
Yeah.
that chick? Who's that chick off that show where they have a cupcake business?
What?
What's that show?
Huh.
One of them's blonde and used to be rich, and the other one is a brunette, and they have a cupcake and they work in a diner. I can't.
I know what you're talking about.
That's old, dude.
Like it's
I
a
don't watch a
sitcom,
lot.
right? Sitcom.
Yeah,
Sitcom.
I don't watch a lot of TV anymore, so.
God
Me
dang it!
neither.
There's something girls.
Two Broke Girls.
Two Broke Girls.
Girls.
Is that it?
The
Yeah.
chick off Two Broke Girls. What's up?
What's up, baby? What's up,
You remind me of Viracosa. You remember back in the day when in Living Color and you had Jim Carrey doing the female
yeah.
bodybuilding champion of the world, Viracosa.
Yeah.
Oh, Shanae.
In living color, man.
Yeah.
That was
You
a
got
show.
some. You got some
You
people.
could-
You
you-
got.
That
You got
that show
you
wouldn't
got
work
chat.
now.
No,
You
we
got
can
chat-
do that show now. Couldn't.
Hey, you got people in chat wanting to buy you drinks.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be the first time.
I see more stuff on chat tonight with people wanting to get with Pat and buy him drinks and stuff than I'm just like,
It's
oh,
creepy.
yeah.
It's creepy as hell.
Yeah. Why not? I mean, again, I've done this before. This is not a new thing. I've done it before, and I ain't afraid.
He's that's got me to like where I'm like, hey man, if you still want to come up to New York and visit,
Maybe
come on up.
we
I
can
wanna
hang
see him
out.
on I want to see him on a Wheaties box. Just superimpose that on a Wheaties box.
Yeah.
Someone
wait.
screenshot it and sent it to me.
Oh, dude.
Now that is cool.
Kim took a bunch of squatch bait. Took a bunch of photos earlier, so
Yeah.
we'll send them to you, Patrick.
You're so pretty.
Thank
Oh, and I
Got
wonder-
my eyes to call me pretty.
Yeah, you do. Actually, you do look quite nice. It's interesting.
Thanks,
Oh.
JC.
You hear squash bait in the back there?
I'm having
laughing her
flashbacks from
butt
New
off.
Orleans, from French
Yeah.
Quarters.
No.
You know, you have to be scared to do
I can
that.
hang in the French Quarter right now, no problem.
You
Yeah.
could, but you better run. You're too cute.
No, I disagree with you, Patrick. I think more fun would come my way than anything else. But those days are over for me.
Um,
Yeah, I got squatch bait. I ain't looking for fun in the French Quarter no more.
You know what's funny is spiritual things, ghosts, and things like that. They don't scare me at all. I mean, once I became a young man and realized that I have power over that, it does. None of it scares me. None of it. But I don't challenge it or hope that it comes around. But it doesn't scare me. I will send it away. But the Sasquatch scares the living shit out of me. So that's the part that a lot of people are like, "What, ghosts and shit don't scare you?" But that does. Yeah. Oh yeah. Because the Sasquatch is a physical being, and it
Yeah.
quite the hell scary.
Yeah,
Whereas,
it's like running into a grizzly bear that has more intellect than
Yeah.
a grizzly bear, right?
yeah,
Is that fair, guys?
yep,
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I haven't talked about last year, year before, I found a corridor about 4.5 feet wide, and it was at a pinch point, going under this very rustic, out in the middle of nowhere bridge. And I went to go in there to track with a camera crew, and they had logged it. Well, I kept an eye on the place, and they never come back in there. The loggers or them. And so I thought, I need to play squirrel hunt. So squirrel season, I dropped, and you drop down probably 200 yards down a hill through these thick pines into this bottom, and it's a select cut, and it's opened up pretty good to where you can go squirrel hunting in there. And I'm sitting down. I stay off the wood line about 10 yards inside the wood line so that nothing sees me out there that I'm hunting. And it comes behind me, 50 yards uphill, comes sleeking in behind me and passes, and I smell it. And I look over my shoulder, and you can see it. You know how it is looking through pine trees, the thick pine trees, you just kind of see the silhouette of it moving 50 yards behind you uphill. And there's only one way out, and that's back up the hill where it is. And I'm claustrophobic, and so that didn't help. And it freaked me out. I'm not going to lie. Even though it's logged, it took 2 years. But 2 years after it's logged, it comes sneaking up behind me. And I don't know if it saw my truck, because they do know me. I don't know if it saw my truck, or if it was just naturally coming down trying to redo a corridor in there and saw me and slipped behind me. But I cannot be around them and be comfortable. I just can't.
Who could? Who could, dude? You would know better than anybody. Like, if you can't do it, who couldn't? Like, name a researcher.
Well, it was a revealing thing. I haven't gone back in there hunting, but that gap in there is only about 80 feet. It's a ravine with a bridge over it. And with the theory that I have on being able to hide a camera, I think I'm going to hide a camera watching that choke point.
Something happened to me today that I'm very proud of. All them years I've been sick with what happened to us and all that stuff, and I just recently have been good with it and all that. It's changed me. Everything about me has changed once I came to terms and learned what the proper people like Leon and Steve and people were trying to help me with, and I'm good now. But it's also changed me to the point I'm not angry anymore. I'm not defensive. Somebody posted something today. I'm not a part of any group, but somebody posted something today showing some pictures and a live video. And so I just said, so what are we looking at? Because I saw a big black stump and then just some trees. And the lady said, it's a Sasquatch. And I said, well, I'm sorry, I don't see a Sasquatch here. So she says, well, not everybody can see them. And I said, so can I ask you a question? Now, normally I would just tear into these people, And I said, can I ask you a question? What do you mean by that not everyone can see them? And, she sent me her answer and all that. And I said, well, enjoy. And thank you. Well, I got a message from somebody after that. They said, "You were very kind to that woman today." I said, "Well, there's no reason to act off. I used to, but I saw no reason to mess with her or anything like that." Turns out this guy is in the middle of a project, and he is a faculty on on New York State University, and he's doing stuff, Sasquatch stuff. And I was just like, wow. Well, and he asked me, "Do you know anybody that's doing this or that or everything?" I said, "I don't.
Yeah.
I don't." I told him, I said, "Listen, I've seen them, but I can't tell you anything about it. I don't know anything about them." But the part of me that's changed was just, I don't know why I was so mean and mad to people, but I'm not anymore. If this is what you're wanting to post, fine. No, I'm just going to move on. That's instead of trying to rip you to pieces, I'm moving on because I got better things to do. There's things I got to do, man.
Well, people have all kinds of thoughts, and most of them are ones that sit around and think of stuff and hypothesize stuff. And maybe they hypothesize in a group, and groupthink can turn into non-factual facts. And you can't debunk that. You're not going to debunk a cherished belief. All you can do is do your research.
That's right.
And find what's out there, and come up with ideas like, I like burying a radio and scraping the ground back for 10 feet and tracking what comes in and interacts with the radio, whether there's a camera in there or not. If I just get the tracks, I know what's there.
Right.
I don't have to have it on film to prove to anybody, as long as I know what's coming in there. And then I have a target area. If I do that 2 or 3 areas, then I have areas I can go to and do research in, and I know it's there. I don't guess it's there. I don't think it's there. It could be, maybe, should be. It's there. And so I can go in there doing other experiments, trying to catch either DNA or video evidence of it. But, systematically approaching this, you can go a long ways. But doing the same thing over and over again gets you nowhere. What the?
I noticed that it's the patience I have now more than anything, since it came to a head for me when Leon said it's a love story, and I think I think Pat said that, and I think that a couple of other people said that. I didn't realize there are so many things. Sometimes you're just so dumb. I didn't realize what was bothering me and all that. What did I hold on to all that time? And now that I've let it go, and I've learned how to let it go, and from the help of this particular group of people, I don't go after these people anymore. The lady says she sees the Sasquatch there with eyes and mouth and brow ridge. Well, God bless you, because I see a stump and some trees, and so God bless you. But I'm not going to waste my time arguing with you or trying to put you down for what you're believing in. Part of the biggest thing with Bigfoot right now, and has been for a long time, is we need to just get past all that crap.
It depends on how big your channel is,
and
how many freaking views that channel gets over obvious BS with Bigfoot narrative.
Right.
So yeah, you're right. Like, don't pick on the small. Don't pick on the weak.
I saw no reason to.
There's no reason to. Like, I kind of learned my lesson about that and the whole sphere. But if you're getting 50,000 views and 30,000 likes up on your porcupine video, nope. This has to be addressed. It must be addressed right now. It's crossing the line. We're in full blown gullible delusional thinking. Has to be called out 100%.
Right, but sorry, Patrick. Just one short thing. To Jay, what you're talking about, and I think Pat followed up in the same theme. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's the difference between having a reaction to someone and responding to a situation.
Probably, yeah, probably.
Hmm.
I know
Um,
that I'm different. I'm different. I'm a lot different, and I just gained a new friend who is on faculty at New York State uh,
Sorry.
University, and well, I'll be talking more with him and stuff like that. But I think it's this whole thing with this group of people I've been involved in has led me into a full circle of who I'm going to be meeting now and in the future.
Right. And think of it, when you have a chance, think about, am I going to react, which is kind of uncontrolled, versus am I going to respond, which is I'm going to think about what is the best route to take. That's a
Right.
response. Yeah.
Because
And
I've
that's,
learned to let go. There's
yeah.
all those famous people that are involved in this. I just let you all know that I have backed a female person in this, and please don't try to figure it out or say a name on. But she was supposed to stop by and say hi, and I had, we were supposed to do some visiting and stuff. Instead, she went about her way, did all her things, and then did a good famous picture of her and Bob. And I just thought, you know what? I see now who you are and what you are, because it was more important to go see this guy than you drove past my damn house, literally drove past my damn house, and you didn't stop. And you had to full direct the whole thing.
well,
I was not important enough because I'm one of the real guys. That's one of the things that bothers me is and why I hate this whole thing. I'm one of the real people who's seen them, and you would have thought that these people would have been interested, but I thought I had a real friend here, and that person was going to come here. No, but it was important that she got some place to go, and it had Bob Gimlin in her camp. And I'm just like, you know what? I told her too. I see who you are now, and so see ya. It's important to me that we share, and this group of people we share because we're critical thinkers, and don't take critical the wrong way. We're sharing information, and now I've turned this into a damn. But anyway, yeah, that's just I.
It's all right, dude. I mean,
Yeah,
we're
it
we're
broke
at
my
that
heart
point.
to see this person who I admired, and I told Nikki have her on. I've told the whole world about her. You know how someone I thought was incredible,
We're
and
we're
then
we're
you get passed by so that you can go way the hell out of the way to be with Bob Gimlin.
I could
Screw you,
have.
man.
we're honest. We try and be truthful. Like the
Um,
group that's here right now, every single person in this group right now, we're honest. We try and be truthful, and that's all I have to say about that, Jay. It's like the
Yep.
truth. The truth
well,
matters, Patrick.
It does matter.
well, Jay, I know you're talking about. I've heard the name, and I was heartbroken not be able to tell you that you're backing the wrong horse there, but I just had to keep my mouth shut because that's not me. But a huge part of the problem is that so many people are looking at the forest from a gravel road, saying, "Is it out there? Is it out there?" And they're looking, they're trying, and they can't figure out that it's out there. They can't wrap their mind around that it's out there. That's a huge problem because without that acknowledgement, you're stuck out here with all this other BS, and you're running back and forth doing all this other BS instead of actually being in there, understanding that if you go in there and look from inside out, that you'll be noticed by them, and you'll have interaction with them. Okay, and
Yeah.
then your focus is on them and not the people around you, not
Right.
the bullshit channels that's putting out shit. Okay, you won't be focused on this shit over here because you're focused right here because you know it's out there. Even if you just accept it as a premise, even if you don't know, your research style will change to where you're out there paying attention to what's in front of you and what's on the ground and what's in the woods rather than the bullshit around you. So it'd really
Yep.
help if people focused on what's out there.
Yeah.
I've always tried to find the help to do this too, and I finally got it. You know, Steve Anderson came up with his wife. Brent Dill came up with his girlfriend Jackie. We're finally getting people in this spot, and they're coming back. So that's. But I couldn't get. You know, I literally tried to get everybody that's always like on TV and stuff. when this first happened, because I'd been out of the Bigfoot world for years and years and years. You couldn't get them to. I have still never got an answer from any of them, never. And I saw their license plates when they came up here to do the international and all that stuff, going up right up here, right just a couple of blocks from me, heading up the 81. But I couldn't get them to stop and talk to me and let me take them and try to bring them in this. But I understand what they are now. I understand who they are. This is another part of the healing for me is I went to the wrong people. I trusted the wrong people.
Yep.
And this is what you get. And I keep getting like this guy today. It keeps evolving. It keeps evolving. Finding all these people and it just good people. I mean, and it keeps evolving. And I just there is a sense of gullibility to all of us. Yeah, you can't get me with stupid Sasquatch pictures and stuff like that. I've seen one, so you could put up a million of them. You're not gonna get me, but
There she is. I've been waiting on that.
who's that beautiful girl? Anyway,
I don't know.
yeah,
Stunning.
that's where I'm at with that. Is I'm just like I just really got gullible on some things and the people. I get one person, like she said, well, Mitchell Townsend, you don't want to be following him and all that. The thing is, Mitchell Townsend, he may be woo, but he was the first person to stand there and listen to me and my wife talk. And he actually was there in that site previously and knew the sounds and everything. He was able to tell me the sounds that particular group made. So whether he's woo or not, he was there. And so that's, but I'm trying to learn to quit following people. Like I said, I'm no longer a member of any kind of groups and stuff like that. They brought me to this here. This is where I feel, I think I'm with the people I'm supposed to be with. That's what I feel. And each time somebody new comes in, like Nikki did, like JC did, I feel like we're all kin. I feel like I can trust everyone here. So,
well, and I like to look at these things as circle of influence, right? Because there's all these people who've kind of climbed the ladder in whatever way they did. Some probably more greasy than others, but they're really not interested in much outside of climbing the ladder because it takes a lot of energy and focus to climb the ladder. And so that's kind of where they're going. And you know what? In its way, it's okay. But the thing is, if you approach this and the research around Bigfoot, Sasquatch, if you really focus on this as a job, you have lots of things going on in life, but this is one of those things. Like what if you were an amazing woodworker, or maybe like Matt's a photographer? If you approach this as a job and then you start finding people that really you're kind of on the same wavelength, and you kind of start watching what goes on, you figure out who is safe to be in your circle of influence. Folks that are just looking to climb the ladder are almost never safe to be in your circle of influence.
I agree.
Almost never. There's exceptions, I'm sure,
Yeah.
but really that's not what they're about. So, you just kind of have to watch and figure out what works for you and watch for the signs. If people,
what you just said, JC, and I hate to I'm trying not to interrupt you, but I would rather cook. Than look for Sasquatch. And you can ask the people that are at my camp. I didn't go looking for them. I let them do the research while I was there. I hosted and cooked at that camp. That's all I'm interested in. I'm just glad to have the people there to try and investigate the area. I don't care to find them. I saw them, so I don't need anything other than that.
Yeah.
And I'd rather just cook and be a great camp host and give you some good memories. So that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, some people, we all deal with it in different ways. Like you're like, I'm good. I saw one once. I'm good. I know that's it. I'm done. I don't need to see him anymore.
But there is no reason
that I saw one, and it's like, now I got to see it again. And it's just, that's because we're just wired a little bit differently.
No, I do want to see one. I still want to see one. My wife and I talked about this today.
But you don't want it to be the way it was.
Right.
Exactly.
I want to see one from. I wish I would have spent
Yeah.
more time looking at that female's face than I would have got burned into my eyes what their face looks like. And
Yeah.
that kind of kills me a little bit, because then it brings you to that Will Jevning thing where he was standing 5 feet from one or whatever, or two of them, and couldn't tell you what the face looked like.
Yeah.
All I saw told me there was a Caucasian woman walking down that, but I never looked at. After seeing that, I was comforted enough to wonder what the hell's going on with that crazy body.
Yeah. And I got something to say to the cat next to me.
Yeah.
I will not eat green eggs and ham. I will not eat them on a plane. I will not eat them on a train. I will not eat them here or there. I will not eat them anywhere.
I'll eat them for you.
Well, on that note, I'm going to do a quick round robin for any last comments, and we are going to put this show to bed. So we will start with you, Joby Wan.
Hey, all I got to say is if you're ever sitting by your campsite, fireside at night, and you see two glowing eyes, but can't seem to see what those glowing eyes belong to, don't worry. It's probably just a Sasquatch watching you play harmonica badly. And the only other thing I have to say to everybody is thanks for coming. Love you guys. Don't sweat the petty stuff and don't pet the sweaty stuff.
Awesome.
That's what I was
Thank
going
you
to say.
So
That's what I was going to say.
much. Bat Squatch, Mr. J.
I'd like to say that I appreciate this group of people, and of course Leon and Steve, Brent. These are the people that I feel like I'm supposed to be with. These are the people I'm either supposed to teach or learn with. I feel comfortable with this group of people, and I think that if you're out there, and you see something, don't be afraid to share it. Now, don't look. If you want to hoax something, just stay out of this. But if you see something, let us know. I mean, all we want to do is help. That's all I want to do. And I was thinking of an alternative line. Say maybe you were in Detroit, Nikki. You could be the cat and the crackhead. But I do appreciate. I've gotten a lot of support from these people here. Pat especially. So I'm really kind of loyal to Pat. After what happened between me and the other person I used to work with, he was the first person I went to, and Brent Dill. So there is a there. I feel like I can talk to these people like personally. I can tell them things that no one else knows. Him, Leon, Brent. It's important to me to have that kind of a thing. And I talk to you too, Nikki, sometimes privately and all that stuff, to let you know that maybe one or two of your guests you should be careful with them. But I just feel like we're all family here, some sort of family, and I appreciate it. So
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for coming on with us tonight. I appreciate it. And I think you're a great guy, and I think you had an amazing experience. So it's great. That's how I learn, because I don't go out there. I see things through the eyes of others, and I appreciate that. So, thank you, Trish and Squatchbait. Any last words?
Yeah, and we can be a dysfunctional family sometimes. We're not above that. We're not below it. But stick to the goal. We all have a goal, and we have a good thing. It's a string of good thought that we have here. And every single person plays a role, whatever that role is, and there's usefulness in that role, and that's what I found. And along with it, especially like you, Nikki, like me and Nikki date. Like I met you before I met anybody else on this panel, and there's a camaraderie there, and the camaraderie is something I'm attracted to personally, because I miss playing in bands. Like, dude, I used to, like that kind of stuff. I've retired from music. I don't play in bands anymore, and I surprisingly found camaraderie in the Bigfoot world. It's like I know this dude Jay. Like he has horses and shit. Like he lives in a cool part of the country that I've never even been to. I could go there and like hang out with that dude. Just hang out, you know, ride horses, talk squatch, talk cooking, you know. So so I want to move the ball down the field as far as Sasquatch goes, 100%. But I love the camaraderie that comes with it. I met this guy Joe up in New York, like this freaking dude, you know, JC, organic, the weirdness that came with how we met her, and so yeah, I'm just I'm in it to win it, man. Let's move the ball down the field, guys. Let's keep doing what we're doing, please.
Great. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you.
JC.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody who's here on the panel. It's great to see you guys and chat with you, and everybody who shows up live in the chat. People who are watching later, you probably, if you're new, this shall be such the shocking experience. But we are real here with all our, all our strengths and our weaknesses and interesting quirks. So, it's been an interesting thing because I never thought Bigfoot was real, and wasn't into it really, seriously. And the thing is that there are good, honest, decent people everywhere. And sometimes I talk to people about weeding the people garden, because it doesn't mean you have to hate them. It doesn't mean you have to have ill feelings at all. It just means figure out what you want your circle of influence to be. I want my circle of influence to be people that are going to be truthful and trustworthy, that I can rely on if I'm in a bind, because two real important things to think about in life. And I found this out the hard way. And those of us on the panel who had abusive childhoods, we know this. You intrinsically know this because you learned this probably as a baby. Is this. You find out who somebody really is when you're in trouble or when that person's in trouble. That's when you find out who someone is. Not when things are good and easy, right? So, we're going to find out. Things are a real interesting mix. I think that the area of study of Bigfoot is interesting. I'm really interested in forest preservation and managing forests better than we have in the past because, we've really messed up. And I'm really interested in forest biology and all those things. So this is not just a potential large mammal. It's not just what I call the Bigfoot circus. Sorry, I call it the Bigfoot circus.
It is.
But it's also this ability for all of us to get out into nature and start realizing what's happening around us in nature, because it's one of the most important things you'll ever do with your life, regardless of, whether you believe in Bigfoot or not. It's really important. So, and then I would have a request. Somebody who has lives, somebody needs to throw, when we get into Thanksgiving time, like this great Squatchoween scariness, someone needs to throw a live around what we're thankful for. I think that would be brilliant.
Good idea.
Good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds like a great idea. And somebody else can host.
You did a good job tonight.
Thank you,
did a great
JC.
job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that show. I'll do that show.
Patrick, any last and final words?
I believe in Bigfoot and stuff.
Cool.
No, I had such a large time laughing. Oh my God, y'all were hilarious. I mean, I laughed until I thought I was going to be ill. Okay, I'm like, oh, and I messaged Nikki. I'm like, send me a link. You gotta let me. But y'all are all interesting. Definitely interesting personalities. We all have our strengths and weaknesses. We all have our, our quirks, like JC said, and we just have to get over ourselves and push, beyond that. So,
Great.
yeah, it's been a great night, great show, and thank you for letting me on, Nikki.
Thanks for coming.
Hey, Nikki. Nikki,
yeah.
can I tell you something real quick?
Yeah.
I was sturgeon fishing last week, and in the Columbia River up by the dam, and I had a big sturgeon on. And I kept feeling it come up and then it'd go down, and then I felt like it was stuck. So pretty soon I started seeing some bubbles, and this scuba diver came up out of nowhere, and he says, "Hey, dude, you got a nice sturgeon down there. It's in an old, like a Model A pickup truck down there that abandoned from, years ago and everything." I was like, "Well, can you go down there and scare him out of it?" He goes, "I already tried. Every time I got close, he'd roll the window up." So I just wanted to tell you.
Oh man!
Wow.
You
I'm
got
glad I
me.
got boots on.
You got me. Um,
Love dad
Thank you,
jokes.
everybody. Jeff couldn't make it tonight. His computer crashed, and Sean's internet went out. So we had some people who weren't able to make it, but that's okay. We had a great time. Look at the time is already passed with just us. It was wonderful. It was exactly what I was hoping for it to be. How many costume changes did I do?
Probably about
11.
8.
4.
I couldn't count, but it made me laugh. You got to go back and watch because you
John Ayers got it
up and
right
look.
in the chat. John Ayers
John,
got it right. I had
did 12.
12 costume changes.
Jeez.
What?
The
How
one
did
you
I
couldn't
miss
get,
that?
you couldn't get the head off. That was hilarious. I mean,
Yeah.
Some of those are on tight, let me tell you. So I started out as the minion. Well, I started out with the disco cat is what I started out with. I had to open the show. And then it was the minion. And then the dinosaur. And then the witch hat. And then I was Venom. The killer clown. The Dia
didn't
de
like
los
that.
Muertos. And then I put the shark hat on. And then I was Deadpool. And then the Purge. And then a really sad Michael Jackson. And then the last one, which was Cat in the Hat.
That was
So,
the cutest.
whew.
cat and a crackhead.
And then we had a quick hello from him.
Yeah.
Right.
So again, thank you everybody. Hey, everybody in the chat,
Thank
thanks
you,
for
Nikki.
coming and watching the show. Please stay till the end and watch my outro to the very end. If you would,
Absolutely.
I would appreciate it. You might like it as well. So everybody, I'm gonna put you in the back and we are gonna end this like a great show always comes to an end, sadly. So with that being said, hey, again, thanks, you guys. Thanks for being here. Have a good night and happy Halloween.